Hey everyone, it's 3 o'clock. It's time to roll for combat. I do it different every time. That was a goofy one. Anyhow, I have Mr. Shadowdark, not Shadowdark, Daggerheart. They're all the same.
I'm both.
Shadow, Daggerheart, Shadowheart, Dagger.
But wasn't Bob Worldbuilder our official Daggerheart correspondent?
He was.
Between Shadowdark, Daggerheart, and Dragonbane, I just throw. I mean, again, I'm not even kidding you. It is prophetic, and you've met Smith, Steven, so yes, you know. Smith created it was a D20 column A and a D20 column B, and the joke was you could roll it, and that's your new RPG. And I'm not even kidding. I think half the results have now real RPGs. You could just
there you go. So Derek is the king of portmanteau right. RPGs that are
we do have
common fantasy words mashed together.
Right. Like, but no, I'm just saying. Like,
it's all so it's 2 words: Daggerheart, Battlezoo.
We'll go to Gen Con. I'm going to sit down and be like,
Shadowdark.
I'm like, Kelsey, right? Daggerdark. When's Daggerdark coming out? Yeah, Daggerdark. Shadowdark, which is apparently already a character from BG's. Yeah, Shadowzoo.
Please get them all.
Yeah, Battlebane. Like all of these, they just all work.
But draw steel. I guess it kind of does go by the rules.
That's
not
right.
Exactly,
though.
Not
it's
exactly.
Actually, no. 2 words.
But
well,
remember,
that is 2 words, right?
People credit me with prophetically guessing that was
you
the beginning of the game.
Did. What are you going to call it?
Because I said the word, and people immediately gave me full credit, Mark. And don't take that from me, okay?
Yes. Yeah, Mark is such a downer. It's like, oh,
you're the one who said
Debbie
that,
Downer.
Derek, you're the one who said that people were overcrediting you for it.
Here's the thing. It's not that Mark is a downer. It's that when I'm saying something that's very clearly a joke, Mark still has to correct me. And then it's like, wah, 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 wah.
I wish I had the sad trombone. I got to get the sad trombone sound in here.
I know. I actually it was on sale. I actually just bought an XL Stream Deck, you know, the one that has 30 or 40.
Yeah,
because I ran out of buttons on my Stream Deck. And I need more for more sound effects.
I have a Stream Deck around here somewhere. I
have several.
You're better than me.
Well, yes, but not at business.
Nope. Hey, but I got as I drop it. I thought these things were supposed to.
I'm also better apparently at manual dexterity.
No, you're not. I got a Switch too. Woo!
Oh, yay!
I'm enjoying this quite a bit.
I bought a Switch 1 5 years ago, and I've never played it. Does that count?
I got one of these too. I Switch 1.
Yeah,
I like it. I like it. It's actually, it's mostly for my kids.
Isn't it like $900?
No.
By the way, speaking of kids, I have something. I have a bone to pick with you.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a bone, but it's a contentious point, and I want to confirm this on air.
Oh.
Okay. You told me that you don't really listen to music.
Not like you do. Not modern music.
Right. You said not modern music.
Right.
Who is using your Spotify account then?
Oh, that's Robin. That's my daughter.
Okay. Because I was like, what is he listening to? Charlie XCX and Dochi, and I'm like, and Tyler the Creator on like nonstop repeat.
That's my daughter. She listens to music nonstop.
I was like, is Steven hooking me? Because I see it through Discord. I'm like, is this guy actually?
I do like
the modern
Charlie
time? XCX.
She's great. I love her.
She is great. That's why I was like, wow, Steven has great taste in modern music.
She is fantastic, and she's a really good actress. She's really funny.
Oh yeah, she's great.
She's great.
She was on SNL like a couple months ago.
I know,
she was great.
And she killed it. How good she was.
Right. In fact, she did a thing with a Lonely Island song.
I know, and it's
one of my favorite. Lonely
that's
Island
one of my favorites too. And she looks so good in yellow.
Oh, she looked so good.
I know. I was like, that hurt yellow. I was like, whoa. I was like, whoever was the costume designer, A++, because that's actually a very interesting color to put on her because she has dark features. So
very dark features, but
really well. No, she was great.
Come for the Daggerheart, stay for the Charlie XCX thing. You know,
while we're talking about it, Sabrina Carpenter. She's also great. I love her too. She's been coming in an SNL regular. She's been on many, many times.
Sabrina is on my repeat. She's kind of taken the place that Ariana Grande used to have. Not that Ariana's bad or fell off. It's just she doesn't really make music anymore.
Yeah, she doesn't really.
She's in her musical era now. She said that after going back and doing Wicked, she's like really become more like she wants to reconnect with like her musical roots and like true performance theater. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah. That's what always happens because eventually they get to a point where it's like,
You know what? You have enough money. Do whatever you want, girl.
No, yes, definitely.
Make yourself happy.
No, he's dead. So yeah, my kids, mostly Robin. You and Robin would get along great because she has this like, she's got like some photographic memory when it comes to music. She knows the lyrics to everything immediately. I mean, she is a singer, so but she just knows. Like she can sing any song, like, but not just some of the lyrics, but it's all the lyrics.
It's worse for me because I'm the same, except I'm also tone deaf. So it's like this worst of best worlds, right? I can't actually say it. Anyways, welcome
to Knights of Last Combat. There we did the portmanteau.
There we go.
Or roll for
battle call.
Yeah, battle call. That's a good portmanteau.
Battle call.
Rye versus World says we need confirmation. Is Daggerheart the fastest selling product in the game's 50-year history, surpassing even the previous record holder, Tasha's Culture of Everything? I will say this: I have no idea what numbers you're going to pull out of your ass, but it is interesting because, as far as I could tell, from everything I've seen and heard and people have said, they could have sold whatever they've sold. They could have sold a lot more if they had just published and printed a lot more.
Correct.
Because it seems like everywhere is out.
It is out.
Every local store in my area. Because I wanted to buy some.
It's gone.
I wanted to do some giveaways.
It's gone
on the channel because we've been doing a lot of Daggerheart stuff, and so I called every store in like my I don't have a job now. Like I called the stores on the west side of Cleveland. 45 minutes away. I'm like, if I need to drive over there to pick up 2 Daggerheart box sets, I'll do it. All of them. Anyone who had product, it's sold out.
It is gone. You can't get it, Professor DM. He's like, I'm going to do a review. He's like, Steve, I can't find it. I'm like, yep. I was like, it is just, he found it he had to get it like through a friend of a friend, and he's not even getting it until this week or next week. It's like, it's gone.
Yeah. What's up, Keith Thor? Good to see you.
So what actually happened
member
is
of the Night's Last Call.
When I was
Smendon. What's up, Smendon?
Man, it's becoming the Knights of Last Call. Mark T's always on my channel. It's becoming Knights of Last Call channel with Steve featuring Steve and Mark. This is what happened. I went to the Gamma press conference, or not Gamma press conference. It was the Gamma conference for retailers, where they went through like all the different sets they have. And it was packed. Like it was absolutely packed. And that's actually, Mark, when I spoke to Ivan during that. And they showed the special edition, which is, they sold out like last year. Like that's how fast. They sold out of the special edition to the retailers last year. So if you have a special edition, good luck. You'll never. It's like those are gone forever.
Hey, if I don't like to use whatever clout I have at all, but if I could squeeze my clout a little bit to get a collector's edition, I would totally do it because it looks amazing. It's awesome, and
it does look good.
I am very sad that I like the Daggerheart book. It's okay, but I think the collector's edition book looks way better. I much prefer the simplistic cover. It doesn't have like the kind of movie poster look to it. It's got the purple and the gold, which I love. But I was, Ye of Little Faith. I was like, a game from Critical Role. How good could it be?
And so you have a combination that it is sold out everywhere. It is. Here's some of the things I'm going to pull out of my ass, as you said. Go to drive-through. It is number 1 and number 3 on all of drive-through, which is not
How is
nothing.
It number 1 and number 3?
Because it has the Daggerheart core book is number 1, and the Daggerheart Nexus core book, which is the digital version online, the Roll20 version is number 3.
That is, unfortunately for me, my biggest complaint about the game. There's a very famous rant that I made last year in which I cursed out pretty hard Demiplane. I hate Demiplane. I hate the model of Demiplane. And unfortunately, Daggerheart is like deeply in the sack with Demiplane / Nexus / Roll20. And it feels like they kind of dropped the ball a little bit on like better VTT support and more holistic VTT support. And their SRD, or whatever you want to call it, their community gaming license, very explicitly does not allow you to develop on the VTT front. And there's been a bunch of people, obviously, who have been making community Foundry licenses, or Foundry systems, but they've held off because people want to do it right and not get, struck. And Darrington's been kind of dragging their feet a little bit, and it really makes me sad because I hate Demiplane. So yeah.
But then if you go to the Amazon bestsellers, number 1 in fantasy gaming is Daggerheart. Number 4 is Dungeons and Dragons, by the way.
What's number 2?
It is 1% Lifesteal, a lit RPG adventure.
Oh God. All right.
My favorite. I love the lit RPG.
Oh my God, the worst.
There's good lit RPG.
Agree to disagree.
But lit RPG is allowed to be in the gaming category.
I know. That was a little. Hey man, I bring it up with Amazon. The point being is Daggerheart has been number 1 for quite a while, actually, in the Amazon bestsellers. It's a. Let's see. I can figure out what it is overall.
But what are they buying? There's nothing to buy. Apparently, it'll let you buy it. And
temporary out of stock. No, because you can buy it from. You can buy it. You can buy it from. Let's see. Some people are selling it. Okay, one person is selling it.
No, I did see that there's already scams. So just FYI for your viewers
out there.
There are people who are already selling stuff that is basically POD of the SRD, and they are just printing it with the cover, and it's like $30, and it's a complete, not only is it illegal, but I'm sure it's also shit because they're just taking the SRD and printing it and binding it and then shipping it to you for like $35 or something.
So wait, here's
do
the
not
thing.
fall for that.
Okay, wait. So let's go through this. It's number 1 in fantasy gaming. It's number 42 in action and adventure fantasy books. It's number 49 in fantasy action. But of all of Amazon, now remember, this is for a book you cannot buy.
Right.
Is number 349 in Amazon.
Like amongst everything?
Yes.
That's pretty good.
That's insane. That's right. Like out of the 10 billion books, it's number 349, and probably was up and down. It was probably even higher when it was actually in stock, which is,
and that's what I'm saying. This is for a book this is for a book that when you go to the page, it says out of stock. Do not know when you're going to get
it. Like that.
So like imagine if it said, get Prime 2 day on it.
Yeah.
It
would probably be in the top 50.
Right. Because I mean, there are people still clicking that button.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's a lot of people who aren't though, because they don't want to put their money in and then not get the book for 2 months, Yeah.
These are people buying it pre-buy to get it when it gets in stock. That's insane.
Yeah.
So all signs point to it's doing really, really, really well. On top of that, the Critical Role Daggerheart
Age of Umbra.
I was trying to remember what it was called. Did very well. It's on track for 1 million views, which sounds like a lot does not sound like a lot for Critical Role, but actually that will be the first time they've hit 1 million views for the first episode in since season 3, or it's been a while. It's been over a year. So it's come back, and more importantly, the critters seem to love it, which is a big part of it. It's like, not only is it doing well, but the critters seem to love what they're seeing. They just, they really like it. And the big reason they like it, from what I've been reading, because I did some research before we did this, is because of the death system. And because people seem to be actually dying and in trouble, and it's not all everything's going to be fine. The old D&D, it's practically impossible to kill characters unless you really, really, really try. It's like, now there's a 50% chance something bad's going to happen, and they seem to be rolling poorly, and bad things keep happening, and they're really getting stressed when they're playing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something that we've obviously covered this, ad nauseum, but there is a certain desire, especially when your Critical Role. I remember in the beginning of campaign 3, that everybody thought that fresh cut grass was going to get killed, and people were losing their minds because they were like, no, and it's like, well, it's a D&D game. People can go to 0 hit points and die. But when people are investing in that kind of story and that kind of thing, I think that the callousness of the die rolls, I think people find to be very off-putting. So I think there's something that they really enjoy about this system from a storytelling perspective, like a show production standpoint, which is technically, if your character does die, you could just choose not to die. Now, I will say that in episode 2, spoiler, 2 characters did go to 0 hit points. And they both chose the third option, which is risk it all, which is where you roll the fucking dice. Because again, if you're not aware, when you die, when you go to 0 hit points, there's no dying, negative, unconscious. When you go to 0 hit points, by the way, you only have 6 or 7. So when you mark your last hit point, you have to make your death move and you get to choose. You can go out in a blaze of glory and basically you get one more turn. Your action is a guaranteed success and, critical hit, whatever. And then you die. And there's like no casual resurrection in this game. You can choose to avoid death, which, your character somehow miraculously survives. We'll figure out in the fiction. You can't be retargeted again while you're on the ground. Somehow you survive. Somehow Palpatine returned. And but the fiction and the narrative changes for the worse for your character, and you might pick up a scar. And then the third option is what we call the YOLO option, which is risk it all. You roll the 2 d12s, and if the hope die is higher, you come back. You even regain hit points, and you're back in the fight. If the fear die is higher, that's it. You died.
50-50.
And
I think it's slightly better because they're
crit.
Equal.
Okay.
First of all, if they're equal, it's a crit, so therefore it becomes a success.
Yeah, actually, if you get a crit, you heal all your damage, all your stress, and pop back up, and you get to go.
60-40.
It's like 55-45.
Yeah,
but so the odds are slightly in your favor.
May the odds always be in your favor,
as Effie would say. Is that her character's name? Effie.
Effie.
Yeah.
Yes.
From Hunger Games.
Yes.
But which is great, which is enough, which was apparently enough for the 2 people on Critical Role. So they rolled it. And
I know. And that's what makes it it's like, wow, what do you know? Real stakes make things fun. It's almost like, I don't know, something you learn when you actually play the game and actually play games with like real consequences. And suddenly, like, maybe that's the reason why, I don't know, people like Pathfinder and Shadowdark and all these other games, like where you can really die and it's not hand waved. Like, yeah, like throw out that character sheet and start a new one. Like,
well, to be fair though, there's sort of I think there's sort of a cognitive dissonance which happens in D&D because people always be like, you can't die. And then you also see all this. So then I fudged, and it's like, well, which is it? Can they die or are you fudging to keep them alive? Like, I can't figure it out. Like,
so I think I know the answer to that, although it does vary from group to group, Derek, but
sure.
The D&D yo-yo life and death rules are so lenient that it is generally typically challenging to die unless everyone died, except for from a small variety of things that may instantly kill you and ignore the usual death and dying. So the GMs who are fudging, they threw in lots of stuff or too much stuff. They made like a deadly +5 encounter that was much deadlier than the game said it should be. Or, maybe their players weren't as strong as some of these groups that we see, and they used a normally deadly encounter and the group just did badly, or the enemies got really high rolls. Whatever it was, they fudged because the entire team was about to die, usually, and not just to save one person in a fight that was otherwise a win. That's at least what I'm seeing when it comes to 5e discussions in that regard.
Right. But I also think this is something that I think maybe, I mean, to be clear, this is nothing new. This game, this concepts have been around for a long time. But the desire to fudge, I think fundamentally, comes from the place of a GM, and many players even say, I actually want my GM to fudge. And I don't like it because I think it ruins the game. But I think for a lot of people, the game is secondary or tertiary to the experience, to the narrative, to the emerging story. And for a lot of people, they are willing to sort of, shit on the gamist, construct of the game in order to get to that story element. And even though these ideas in Daggerheart have been around for a long time, certainly Fabula Ultima has done them very, very well several years ago. One of the reasons I liked it. I think that it being a little bit more mainstream, being from Darrington and therefore from Critical Role, I think it will appeal to people because they are seeing now, even though it's old tech, for the first time, a game that is sort of placing the fiction and the narrative, the story element of the game ahead of any sort of verisimilitude and any sort of trope about, gamist combat is sport, like balance type issue. Like that, this is a game that cares more about like, hey, when you die, is this a cool time for your character to die? Oh, you don't think so? Cool, then you don't have to. And for a lot of people, I think they're like, man, that's actually the problem that I've been trying to solve for 10 years with my D&D game, and why I feel like I constantly need to fudge, because people end up dying. And I'm like, they don't want to die. I don't want them to die. It's a bad moment for them to die. I guess I just have to cheat. And here's a game that's like very, it's all above board and it's very open. And I think that for some people, they feel that maybe that is one of the reasons it's resonating with people. Potentially. I don't know.
Well, so anyhow, the game is... Well, you can't really find it, which will be it will be interesting, because I guarantee they're going to have. Well, you're going to go to Origins. I don't know if they're going to have any in Origins. I don't think they're going to Origins. But they're definitely going to be a Gen Con. That is for a fact.
Apparently, the Critical Role crew is going. Or at least some of them are going.
Everyone's going there. And what I think is that they're gonna. It's going to be. You know what it's going to be? It's going to be you and I. You know what I'm going to say. It's going to be Lorcana, man. Going to be, it's like
people are going to be
I mean, it's going to be the big giant thing that destroys all of Gen Con this year, but then
right. It's just like, you got it. Except here's the thing. Wait, you said you would give your right arm if you can get the book. Well, Derek.
No, he said the special limited edition.
Well, Derek, we might be hanging out with Ivan on Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah, well, I'm sure he just carries around a backpack with limited edition collector's editions.
Man, you're turning it to Mark. You're like crapping all over my gift here. Okay, I'll keep it. You don't need it. I'll keep the special edition.
I will say, though, like, can they print this? Like,
what do you mean? They're gonna they're gonna do another printing, I'm sure.
I'm saying, but
it's gonna probably
where does it get printed?
That's
okay, because I was like, I'm sure with all the cards, it cannot be called a book.
Oof.
I mean, it comes. By the way, you can't even buy the book, right? The collector slipcase, or not the collectors, but the normal slipcase comes with the box of cards and the book.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, somebody did awesome. Respect. You got to check it out on Reddit. The binder that the cards come in is beautiful. It's got a great cover. It's got that purple color. It's got nice little magnetic clasps. They used a heat gun to melt the glue and tear out the card holder, and then they glued in a 3-ring binder. And then they put in pages to bind, so they could put in a binder, and so it still looks like the Daggerheart binder. I have to try to do it. I have to get my arts and craftsy score on, because it's such a cool thing. You ever get like a really nice product and it comes in even like when you buy a new laptop these days, and it comes in like a gorgeous case with like the magnetic seal, and it's just like this really nice packaging, and you're like, I don't want to throw this away. Look how cool this is. This is so nice. It's got magnets.
Rare earth magnets. You can't throw that out.
Yeah, I mean, come on. So,
wait, I want to see the guide. I want to see where is.
But that being said, to Mark's point about Lorcana being the hype and then being absent, I am aware that Avatar Legends exists. You know what I mean? Like,
but they didn't let. You know what? There's not. Okay, there's a huge difference.
Even is this what you're looking for? I sent it to you in Discord.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I want to see where their booth is compared to my booth.
Oh no, that's not the thing that I said.
Oh, that's that we'll look at too. I'll look at that too.
Always be closing.
I didn't know what the guide was.
I want to look at the Gen Con 2025 vendor map, because you want to be near it but not so near it. You know what? I don't think it matters that much. It's like some conventions, I think it does matter where your placement is.
I mean, actually, Gen Con, every aisle is full.
It's like every aisle is full. And on top of that, the only thing I think you don't want to be is on the ends, like the sides. I think that's kind of not great to be like all the way on the ends. Like, I think it's not the best place to be, at least at Gen Con. I think at smaller conventions it's fine, but at Gen Con, I don't think it's that great. I want to see where I just had it open for the longest time and then I closed it. Where is that map? I'll find it. Anyhow, yeah, someone says they're going to have thousands of copies. Oh, here it is. They're going to have thousands of copies here of the game. So we will see. They never sent you your free. Did you write them, Mark? Did you write the contact I gave you? Ask her for your copy.
What? You gave me a form to submit.
Right.
But you're right that they never sent me my
but I didn't give you the. I'll give you the
today.
person's name. They'll send it to you.
Yeah, you only gave me an automatic form, and the only thing that it could do was be filled out to get it, and I did not see how I could use that to like negotiate into another person other than by just
all right. I'll give you their name.
Cold calling a random thing. Yeah,
calm down. I'll get you your name.
I wasn't going to say anything during this episode about not getting it, but you're right that I didn't. How did you know that I still didn't?
Because why? Because I'm a genius. I don't know.
I guess you are.
I will say that it is interesting. I see my the only guy who's more cynical than me, Todd Twilley. He's in chat. What's up, Todd? I actually like Todd, but
their booth is way on the side. They only got a 10 by 20.
But I see Arcady and E. Armstrong and stuff like that. And one thing I will say is that there's something to be said. Avatar was this like super hype Kickstarter, and everybody really bought into it. And then the game came out, and it was like people were looking at it like for the first time and being like, "Oh, this isn't what I thought it was, or it's not whatever." I feel like Daggerheart, in some ways, obviously last year the beta came out and people were talking about it, but I feel like it kind of disappeared.
It did.
I feel like nobody was talking about it. People were talking more about Draw Steel, and people were talking about, you know what I mean? And obviously D&D 2024. And then the game came out on a Tuesday. And
the D&D 24 was sucking up all the oxygen, and then it literally came and went. And I just want to say real quick, the D&D 24, I've been hearing a lot of stuff is like, and even from my own products and people who are talking to me, like but people aren't playing it. People are still obviously playing 2014 now, which makes sense because people are still finishing up their campaigns.
Sure.
But the bigger part is that it wasn't different enough. Like now a lot of people are doing those videos of like, well, there's not it's not different enough. Like
it's damned if they do and damned if they don't,
right.
Steven. If it was more different, they would have suffered a mass exodus of a certain number of people who just wanted the old one. It's not like that they made a terrible choice by making it not different enough. It was that they were stuck in a Scylla and Charybdis situation. Do you have Scylla just eat 6 of the sailors off of your ship, or do you have Charybdis, the whirlpool, destroy the entire boat?
Well, keep in mind
most
people would say a rock in a hard place, but Mark is Mark. So
Mark is Mark. They're between a rock and a hard place. They're between Episcol and New.
It's the trolley problem.
The trolley problem is actually that's. I would do rock in a hard place.
I can't believe that you don't know Scylla and Charybdis.
No, I do. I don't know how to pronounce them.
You're just saying nonsense
No,
words.
I do know them, but I don't know how to pronounce them because I'm bad at speaking.
No, that's fair. In fact, it's probably pronounced Scylla because they would have had a kappa or K in there. But it's usually pronounced Scylla in English. I've heard it. Maybe because of Latin.
I don't even remember what I was talking about anymore.
Well, we were just talking that 2024 obviously, kind of came and went, and everybody was like making this big deal about it, and then it kind of just.
Well, they did it to themselves because they wanted to buy D&D Beyond, so they're like, okay, we're going to make a new version, and then they said, okay, they made a new version because they said they were going to make a new version. They weren't trying to fix any problems; they were just doing it to do it.
The other problem is there's a lot of things to break down here, but like both from Daggerheart and D&D. The other thing is I think D&D kind of fucked themselves with this the Project Sigil and making this big push about that. And I think in general, number one, people weren't buying into it as much. Like ironically, this is how you know. Again, this is the number one problem with Daggerheart. Number one problem with Daggerheart is I like it. Right, that is a bad. That's always
like the bad problem is. But you like my products.
Derek, did you like Project Sigil?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
I actually liked it from where it is now is where it was a year and a half ago, which was like in good shape, but they still need to like redo it. They needed to update it more.
Yeah, but then they basically were kind of dropped the ball on that and whatever, and 2024 came in, and then plus there was just all this like. There was like, oh, Jeremy Crawford's leaving. Oh, Chris Perkins is leaving. And a lot of people felt like, okay, like D&D is done. There was like kind of a feeling about that. And so people kind of just I don't know. Like you said, I think it wasn't a big enough change for people to feel like it was worth it. And between the bad press and some of the other weird stuff that happened, yeah, I agree that it wasn't a big deal. The other element to D&D and Daggerheart story is, and I'm not throwing shade on any of this, but like at a fundamental level, a lot of the games that have come out over the last couple of years since the OGL, DC-20, Tales of the Valiant, Advanced 5e, whatever. I mean, they are D&D, you know, with a slightly different coat of paint. You know, this is the way I would do D&D, and you know, probably fair to call them fantasy heartbreakers. I don't know that you can call Daggerheart a fantasy heartbreaker because it is a fundamentally very different game. I mean, it doesn't have initiative. It to me, it is a PBTA game for the masses because it does not have initiative. It's using GM moves very openly and discreetly, not like hidden in the column margins, but like a whole section on principles, golden opportunities, you know, and all this other stuff that for me is, I mean, that is literal PBTA DNA. And people are seeing it for the first time. And so it does feel like something different. It does feel like something that isn't just a D&D clone / wannabe. And maybe that's why, you know, people are getting excited about it, you know?
Well, I mean, it's a combination that everyone wants to be on the next best new big thing. And it also looks really good. It's getting, you know, it's like people want something that's, you know, a hot new thing. I mean, people just want to be part of it.
Some of it comes down to like matching expectations, like you were saying, Derek. And I think that Daggerheart, at least so far, even though, yes, you could say that both Daggerheart and Avatar Legends are very powered by the apocalypse, but Daggerheart seems to, maybe because of the beta, maybe because of the other things, seems to be matching people's expectations for what it would be, I think. Whereas
yes, I agree.
As Avatar Legends, like the people I know who played more of that, they liked it, but there were certain friction points that a lot of people told me that were fans of the series where, and even Daggerheart, I think, got away with doing this differently. If Avatar Legends, let's say, had the cards from Daggerheart with specific bending moves on it, that would be different. Whereas the people I know, when they played benders, they were a little let down when their thing was just very powered by the apocalypse for bending, and it was not like telling them what kinds of bending that they could do.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Oh, I actually 100% agree with you. The thing that Avatar focused on was the thing that I was really excited about. It focused on, you know, your two opposing principles and trying to find balance. Avatar for me was
knocked out of balance to lose via like role playing, putting you on tilt like Azula when she went out of control.
Correct. At the end absolutely. At the end of book 3.
Book 3, yeah.
But, and so for me, that was really exciting. But you're right. That was a complete mismatch with what people expected. People wanted cool martial arts bending moves. You know, they wanted Elemental Avatar from Battlezoo Eldemon, right? They didn't want, you know, how are you feeling? And how are you torn between justice and your need to connect with people? Like, how do you bridge the gap? How do you find a balance between your need to get revenge and your need to find forgiveness?
Enough of that crap.
So Derek, the people I talked to actually liked that part, Derek, but they wanted both.
Minority.
Oh, they wanted both. Okay.
Wait.
They wanted both. They were like, the coolest thing that was in it was, and then they said that duality thing. That's the coolest thing. They were like, that's a plus.
Yeah.
But then, so it's not exactly what you were saying, where they just wanted the martial arts and not that. That was great. But the bending was very undercooked, and they didn't like that.
Here we go. Tangent time.
All right.
Tangent
but there's
time.
a super chat. Should we do it before
we have Let's
we do a super chat, and then we'll do tangent time.
To be clear, but
tangent time.
You have a super chat. There's like 230 people here. You know, people do want to hear about Daggerheart.
Oh, well, this will be the 5-second tangent about you, Derek.
Oh,
okay. But we'll do the super chat real fast.
What are we even doing here?
Agile Monk super chat says Daggerheart is well produced, full of quality components. You cannot come at it like a typical D&D player. It is not a D&D game or approach. It is made up a half dozen of non-D&D systems.
Yes, and I'm going to get into that. And to keep you around, I'm going to talk about the card builder, which just came out. We'll talk about the cards and why I think the cards are a brilliant idea and not a bad idea at all. In fact, I actually think the cards are going to be part of its success. But the tangent is, Derek, you got to play your elemental avatar And
Eldemon trainer.
Eldemon trainer. Oh, sorry, you're the Eldemon trainer. You got to be the Eldemon trainer. Was it everything you thought it would be and more?
It was. I was so powerful and functional and balanced, but also awesome and cool. It was everything I wanted and more. I swapped out of Squirrel Lash. Well, I did a fight of Squirrel Lash, and I was throwing damage down, and it was completely busted. Then I crit, and I did like 40 damage. It was ridiculous. And then I was Chillot, but then I had to swap. And actually, there was a moment of what I call inverse Paizo's razor. So, or the Ayla postulate, which is, we have a joke where if you think something's cool in Pathfinder 2, read it again. You probably misread it. And
that's not too far off.
So there was a moment where somebody was really hurt, and I had Ankrub as my backup. And I was in Chillot form, and I was like, oh, Ankrub, I can only give you shields. I can't heal you. But then I forgot about Vitality Essence or whatever it's called, that once an hour, instead of giving temporary hit points, I can actually heal people. And everyone was like, oh, that's awesome. So I hopped in, I gave them the 2d10 temp, but I converted it into real healing and got them back up, and it was awesome. And it was cool. I was like, wow, this is so much more fun than playing a cleric. And I played a cleric from 1 to 20. I was like, Ankrub is one of the coolest. Ankrub / the Life Domain, in my opinion, is like one of the coolest TTRPG systems ever. I mean, don't get me wrong. Frozen was cool. We used it on the ooze. We completely, immobilized it with a stacks of chilled or frozen or whatever it's called. And Squirrel Lash was cool, doing damage and stuff like that. But the whole build of Ankrub is and Life Domain is so cool. Just so cool.
So you got to be the Swiss Army knife of characters.
Yes, it was awesome. It was completely cool. And I loved there's a fair amount of complexity with it because, my character's going away and bringing in this new character, essentially, kind of. Yeah, it was really, really cool. Yes, that is true. My party had one complaint. Okay, because I brought them. I don't know if I think I sent you the screenshot, but they were all over our Patreon.
With no Ankrub plushie?
Yes, because I was able to bust out the Squirrel Lash plushie.
I don't know if I have an Ankrub.
We don't see. We only have 6 of.
No, I had extras made.
Do you want to know how bad it is? You want to know how bad it is?
You had a prototype Ankrub made?
Which one's Ankrub? Ankrub's the
Ankrub's a life beetle. Never had a plushie.
The Scarab. Here's how bad it is.
I did not do the Scarab.
Here's how scary it is. I know that Squirrel Lash in combat is actually Squirrel Ember, and I know that Chillot in combat is actually Blizzot, and that Ankrub in combat is actually Ankrush. So I actually know the battle form names and the evolved names because I am a Eldemon fan. It is for me. I wish the rest of Pathfinder 2 I could I get that not everybody wants to be an elemental avatar, and I get that not everybody wants to be an Eldemon summoner, but that design of that system is kind of like how I just wish the whole system was. Figure out ways to make it work for everything. Make it like Book of 9 Eldemon or whatever.
That's what we'll do.
It's so satisfying, and the refresh system, the reaction system. It's great.
I think you broke him, Mark.
No, it's just amazing. It's great. The gameplay, here's what it does. Most mechanics, I'm going off on a rant here, but most mechanics exist, in my opinion, in sort of a functional vacuum. They just do the thing. This makes you, through the mechanics, Mark Rosewater would call this the Melvin, or where the mechanics actually make it feel like the fiction. The act of playing as Chillot and using the ice domain, the mechanics feel like take Kona
the
Cold.
ludonarrative concept.
Yes, the ludonarrative concept.
I worked really hard on that with the different elements, and I tried to focus on games I liked that had that consonance because I wanted it to feel like with water, where you're doing tides in and tides out.
Right, exactly. To the point where I'm almost, I'm sad that I don't have more Eldemon because I want to play with these different elemental types. And so that's really, really cool. And like I said before, like everyone likes Fireball. But when you look at Fireball and Cone of Cold, it's like one does fire damage, one does cold damage. There's nothing about Cone of Cold that feels cold. There's nothing about it that feels chilling. Oh, it's a cone. Is that what? Yeah, ice cream cone? I don't know. What's the assumption of why is it a cone? It could just as easily be ice ball. But what's really cool about these elements is they feel like the elements. So yeah, usually we talk about ludonarrative dissonance, Mark. But you are correct. It is, in this case, it's a ludonarrative consonance, and it's awesome.
I'm glad you're enjoying it. So we'll make it that much better when you sell it at Gen Con.
Except that I don't have an Ankrub plushie. That was a big problem.
Whatever. I'll get you.
You know what?
You know what? Well, if I would have gotten more tariffs, I would have gotten more plushies, except for the 55% tariff. So
I was about to be. I'm gonna have to. I need this life. I'm about to swap them out for Lotus Neck because I have that, and but I don't want wood. I want life. Damn it!
I know.
Like we toyed with the idea of doing more of them because sometimes like a plushie centric Kickstarter can do better than just adding plushies to another one or something like that. But the problem is with these tariffs, it just is no longer
right.
It's no longer viable.
And by the way, to just to be clear here, Derek hates cute things and does not like Pokemon. Okay,
but he loves this. That's how good it is.
No, that's what I'm saying. So like before no, I don't like Pokemon. I don't like the games. I don't really like the card. I never played Pokemon Go. I thought it was stupid. I never played the card game. I think it's silly that the winner gets prizes. Like, why make it a catch-up mechanic? That's so dumb when you kill. Anyways, I thought that mechanic is terrible. Plus the whole let's arbitrarily multiply everything by 10. And I don't like the game. I don't like Pokemon. I don't like cute things, but I love this. So if I can love this, anyone can love this. Well, and if you don't like it, it's just because you don't appreciate cool mechanics and good design. So sorry.
Well, good news. We have more Eldemon coming. In fact, I've been sharing it with the gang. So we're working on it. I think
I'm all in for it because, like I said, I think we'd love to see more common Eldemon.
There will be.
So you have more choices.
There will be.
I mean, because
you can make your own too. A lot of people on our Discord make their own and trade them.
I believe it.
We need to give more choices. Like it was intentional to only give one common in the initial book,
right?
Because then that way it's easy. You know which one you're going to get. Right. It doesn't get overwhelming, but we need more for the existing elements. So it's going to be awesome.
We will. So something else that Daggerheart did is they release. So the big part about Daggerheart is that it has cards.
By the way, you said card builder for Shadowdark.
Oh, whatever.
Oh, you said Shadowdark.
Shadowdark, Daggerheart. They're all the same.
I didn't even hear that.
It's card builder for Shadowheart Dark Dar. It's so crazy. Whatever. They're so close. It's like they even have the same number of. They sound the same. They have the same.
Blah.
It's not even that. Well, so the big thing.
Just wait till you start calling it Daggerdark.
I know. I won't even get into it. I won't get into language semantics, but it's like the way, like we do this, like when I worked in advertising and we'd have to come up with names for drugs and stuff. Like there's like mouthfeel and like the way it like rolls off the tongue and all that stuff. Like that's why actually I like Battlezoo because it does a lot.
Battlezoo.
Right. Yeah. It does a lot. It's easy to say, easy to spell, easy. Like you could do a lot with it very quickly. And a lot of it has to do with like how fast you can say it, spell it, what it invokes. And like, these are very good names. Like that's something else like Shadowdark. Very great name. It's like a shadow of dark. That doesn't make any sense. You can't have a shadow of the dark. It makes no sense. But it sounds great, But it's like a Daggerheart. Like, what's that? You're killing someone with a dagger through the heart? Doesn't make sense. Who cares? It sounds good. But they released, so a big part of it is the card system. Now the whole thing about the card system, which is really interesting, is the cards are no different than feats or powers or abilities or anything else.
Nope.
No, what do you mean no?
No, they're not different at all.
Oh, okay, so you're disagreeing. Yeah, they're exactly the same. They're just physically being represented with cards, which also makes it interesting so that you have a limit. And it's very board game mechanic because how many times, and I always bring up Gloomhaven because Gloomhaven does that. Like, well, you can have, especially when you get to higher levels, like you can have this many powers, but your hand can only be whatever 8 cards out of your 16 or 17 or 18. So you you choose, and that's all it is.
My number one complaint with Battlezoo Eldemon is I'm like, damn, I wish all these powers were on cards.
All right. Well,
yeah. I mean, because I put them on cards when I run demos.
Right.
All right.
Because I mean, I literally
I want to do that.
I want to tap it.
I will have that as part of. Although the next I
You
want to
figure
do
it
it
out,
too.
buddy,
I'm going to figure it out. I
with
know.
your
Well,
55% tariffs. But like the
no,
other
well,
thing
cards
is,
you can do in cards you can do in America. Cards are actually not that big.
so because the other thing too, which we've talked about, is look. Okay, so right now in Daggerheart, in the core release, there's 9 domains. So there's 9 decks of cards. All right, and they contain 21 cards. 3 of level 1, and then 2 from levels 2 through 10. So 21 cards. But imagine if you just create an expansion pack, like a living card game, where it's not randomized. It's just, hey, here are 20 new cards, right? Or the 21 new cards, 3 new cards for each of the 9 domains. And you could just sell that as a pack of cards. And people could buy it and add it. Instead of buying a whole new book,
that's the
whole new thing, you could just buy this deck of cards, or a third-party publisher who has access to being able to print could make these cards and get them on, and people could take them. And then all you have to do is just add them. So cool. It's so easy. And then obviously for digital, it's all the same anyways, so it doesn't really matter.
If you go, you can go to their card maker, and it's really well done. Like, I'm like, as a technology side, I was like, wow, this is...
Well, notice it's not made by...
a lick.
It's not made by Demiplane. It's made by this card creator.
Well,
it's a different programming
Pixel
group.
Table.
Pixel Table. Yeah.
Pixel Table, which is interesting because they do like... I got to ask them how they found this, because they're like, they do like Allison Missing. Like, it's like, it doesn't seem like... It seems a little out of someone's wheelhouse. I didn't dive into this too closely. I actually, you know what? You guys talk. I'm actually going to dive into the technology on this. I'm
into the technology behind.
Yeah, I'm curious. Actually, I'm going to just dive into this real quick.
While Steven dives into that, I was using the card creator, and I created my own card.
Oh, you did?
But I'm not sure how I can share it with everybody.
There's a create button.
Yeah, I did it. I made a PDF. I have a copy of the image, but I want to show it to everybody on the
give
screen.
Me the image. Send it to me in chat, and I'll send it to
I'll send it into the chat that we're doing on the Zoom call. Here it is.
Or just send it to me.
All right,
I can send it directly to you.
No, send it to me.
Well.
Don't send it in Zoom, because that will mess up the layout.
Okay, fair enough.
I can share it with everyone. Oh, come on. What a dick. What an asshole.
I didn't see it.
You can see it in the Zoom chat, Derek.
Oh God. Fine. Here. Everyone can see this. I didn't even read it. Oh, I know. Like
You didn't read it? It was nice. You assumed it was bad because of the fact it was in there.
Oh wait, hold on.
Yes.
Wait, I'll save the image. Hold on.
All right. So yeah, it was so easy to use that once Steven linked it in chat, I used it to create a new ancestry for Daggerheart. Yeah, I'm not sure if I used the terminology correctly with once per encounter on the second ability that I wrote.
That is not the correct. They do not do. They don't have anything that says once per encounter. But
yeah, I think what would you call it? Once per scene?
Once per rest. They don't actually rest.
They never actually. They never do anything per encounter.
That doesn't mean that doesn't mean that they couldn't, but they haven't so far. Currently, the three denominations aside from at will are once per rest, once per long rest, and once per session.
There we go. So I could do once per rest. I wanted it to be that you get it every time you defeat a monster, but once per encounter, so that you can't just defeat 10 minions and gain 10 hope. Because it's the always be closing ability, where when you're closing, you're killing the enemy, and so you gain additional hope for that.
Oh wait, right. I can share this with everyone. Hold on.
Okay.
So yeah, somebody did a funny one last night. We were talking about, because the communities in Daggerheart are called like Orderborn, Lore, like it's like where you're from, so you're Ridgeborn, Wildborn, Underborn, Seaborn, and then somebody made a community of Jasonborn. And
Jasonborn, there you go.
I was waiting for that one. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Steven shared the card that I made in
I'm going to
chat,
put it on the screen for everyone. So
you can click on it, and he'll eventually put it on the screen too. So you have a new ancestry that you can use. Or are they called ancestries in Shadowdark?
They are called ancestries, yes.
That's what I thought. You have a new ancestry that you can use if you want
to. Steven, they're strange creatures that are inexorably lucky and always closing. Their brother works in Hollywood. Hey, man, I haven't mentioned that in a long time. I'm not going to mention that. Lockbender, once per session after Willie. Yeah, I totally have all that. And one always close you gain 1 hope when you defeat. Hey, yeah, that sounds good to me. Sounds like a winner to me. All right.
So that's good stuff.
Enough silliness.
Enough silliness.
Wait, we had some super chats.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we did. I was too busy making a card. Let's see what they said.
We had Junderlin and we had Agile Monk.
Junderlin Game says, talking about Daggerheart, I love the core hope, fear, armor, stress, 2d12, awesome classes, mostly good. Domain cards and mechanics need work. And Agile Monk said, to the credit of Darrington Press, who made some mistakes with some of their other games, they brought out Daggerheart core rules with cards, etc. for a $60 price point was on target.
Well, I think that's another thing that people were kind of sleeping on.
It's really cheap.
Well, because Candela Obscura came and went, and it's very easy to and they they were like, oh look, we're gonna put it on our channel, and look, it's Abria, and look, it's Mark Matt, and then everyone was kind of like, eh. And I think people made the mistake, and my understanding is that I own Candela Obscura, and
you love it. It's your second favorite.
It is not, but
I know
what I think people made a mistake is they made the mistake of assuming that it didn't do well because of a flaw in the design or a flaw in the presentation. And in fact, it was for a far simpler reason. Genre. For whatever reason, swords and magic win every time.
Yep.
Genre is what I would have said. If you said something else, I would have been like, no, it was genre. So
yeah, it was genre. And so if Candela Obscura had been, swords magica, it would have done way better. And that's just always been true, right? Call of Cthulhu is the one and only exception to the rule. And that's just because there's this intense core of people who absolutely love going insane and dying.
There are occasional exceptions, but they all always have some unusual standout thing for them. Whereas if all else is equal, your generic fantasy RPG will beat your science fiction or science fantasy RPG, even if your science fiction or fantasy RPG literally has the Star Wars name on it, and your fantasy one doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, there's an interesting thing. Let me see what you think of this. So, way back when I was still doing Gaming Steve and MMOs were all the rage, there was a thing that's only fantasy, and you can probably look at this. Fantasy MMOs succeed, and science fiction MMOs, they didn't fail, but they never even came close to the level. Even the top selling science fiction MMO would come and go, and they just never, it didn't matter. Even when Star Trek came out, nope, didn't matter. Even when Star Wars came out, nope, didn't matter. Came and went. They just can't beat it. They just can't beat it. There's a lot of reasons why. It basically has to do with technology and why do space swords, how can you not just it's like dogfighting in modern day aircraft. No one does dogfighting. Okay. It's very rare. It's almost all fights are done 50 miles away from each other because of rockets and just the way technology works. So same thing. It's if you do a science fiction MMO or a science fiction RPG, it's how do you make it so that you have the same type of combat systems that you have in fantasy?
Sure. I mean, people love Star Wars. It's okay. Well, yeah, but they added magic and swords.
Right. Because it's science fantasy. Yeah. It's science fantasy and there's swords and all that. But the Dune RPG, which just came out yesterday, is doing gangbusters. It's doing
Wait, what? The Dune RPG?
Sorry, the Dune MMO. Sorry, Dune MMO.
Oh, yeah.
The Dune MMO came out yesterday and it's doing absolutely fantastic. So it's a question of maybe, but is Dune MMO doing well because it's science fiction, or really Dune is almost fantasy in a way, and it's it's hard to say.
I mean, people could see in the future, which is not technically a scientific principle. So
right.
Yes,
it's again science fantasy.
It's definitely science fantasy.
Yeah. It's science.
However, that doesn't explain why Star Wars, which is also science fantasy, has never done as well as you would expect.
Oh, I know why. Oh, you want to turn to a MMO video game podcast? We'll go right into it real quick.
I want to keep talking about Daggerheart.
We will.
I'd rather talk about Daggerheart, but Stephen, this is your show, so you can.
10-second Tangent. Tangent.
Does that mean it's twice as long as the tangent with Derek that was 5 seconds?
No, it's simple as this.
15 minutes.
Everyone wants to become a Jedi, and no one wants to play something else.
Oh, that's fair.
There
and
you go.
then when you have a
that's
thing
why.
that's full of only Jedis, it gets unbalanced. That makes
no,
sense.
that it's like it's the Invincibles. It's like when everyone's a superhero, no one's a superhero. Right? No one isn't exactly. Everyone's a Jedi. Who cares? It has to be rare and special. Anyhow,
apparently YouTube is the audio is fine, but apparently the video feed on YouTube is terrible. But
what?
I've seen it too. Our YouTube video is super lagged, but our audio is fine, which suggests it's a YouTube problem, not a you problem.
Mine seems fine. I'm actually watching it on YouTube. So.
Yeah, so it's probably a server issue where you're getting served from. So there might be like a Midwest server thing or something.
You got served.
Okay. I don't know what I can do about that.
Nothing. I would say if you're at home, try, and you have a VPN, and you should have a VPN, try changing to, a different cluster, because then you might get put up to a different Amazon server.
Oh, it says encoding overloaded. Considering turning down for a faster encoding.
Oh, your encoding is overloaded? That's happened to me once or twice. Maybe on your OBS and with the encoding.
Yeah, but if, I don't know if everybody's having the issue, but.
Trying to think, what can I do?
Well, you could open OBS, go into your stream settings, and turn down your encoding rate.
Yeah, this has never happened before.
I've only seen it happen like twice before.
Stream, output, bit rate.
Do you have CBR?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So go to change your CBR bit rate from like, what is it, 6,000?
Yep.
Yeah. Change it to like 4,000 or 3,000. See if that works.
All right.
And then click apply.
Yes.
That makes sense. The member chat from Agile Monk is that Daggerheart will be restocked fully on June 23rd, 2025.
Wow. There you go.
Maybe that's when they'll have one for me.
So
I have never had this happen on my computer.
I've had it happen before.
Well, your computer is
he's Steven Glicker. He's got the luck of Steven, so that's why he's just never even seen this.
Also, I'm a professional streamer, Steven. So I am. I'm prepared.
Oh, I wish I was a professional streamer. No, I don't.
Right. And see, look at chat. Fixed it.
It's looking cleaner now.
You did it.
I'm actually also closing. I'll close a whole bunch of things that I have.
No, that has nothing to do with it.
Oh, really? It's not even the memory.
No, it's not. It's not even
128 megs.
No, it's not even necessarily you. It's just YouTube is saying you're sending them too much data and they can't process it, and so that's why they're getting the buffer feed. So by changing it from 6,000 bits per second to 3,000 bits per second, or kilobits per second, whatever, you're giving them less data, and but
got it.
But it may only the lag is back. All right, there's only so much we can do.
Turning down the video settings, man. What do you want from me? Video settings, stream, output, keyframe interval, preset, best quality. Should I change the quality?
No, because that has to do with your encoding rate. Yeah. What's your keyframe interval? 0? Auto?
2.
Change it to 0. That might fix it. Live fixing.
There you go, everybody.
We're trying.
Let's look ahead.
We're doing our best.
I do have psycho visual tuning. I'll turn that off.
So let's say something about Daggerheart during the time that Steven is doing this. What is your next Daggerheart hot take, Derek?
My next Daggerheart hot take?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. So I have to. I've been meaning to like make videos because people are like, Derek, well, I love it, but you're so long. Please stop talking forever. So I think that the core game has a mistake in its advice to GMs, and we kind of talked about this a little bit, Mark, previously separately, and which is that in PBTA games, you have this idea of the spotlight and managing the spotlight. And I consider that to be very important to the pacing of the game. And as a director, which is kind of what I view the GM where you choose to turn the camera is very important. And it's a great way to highlight and spotlight other characters and other moments. Daggerheart officially recommends that when the players have the spotlight, they should decide amongst themselves who should go next. And I think that in any situation that is tense, like a conflict or a chase or an escape or the room is collapsing, I think that is terrible.
I'll be back.
Because it leads to groupthink. It leads to a lot of, hand wringing. It leads to a lot of weird it removes tensions. It just leads to a very, very, very uninteresting situation and moment. And this is a big problem I have with popcorn type initiative in general, is players start going, who wants to go? Should I go? Should you go? Who should go? And you mentioned before that they do give the sidebar option for the tactical option where you only have the 3 gems before anybody else can go. So you don't, avoid like, I'm going to go till spamming it. But you have solved that issue by having the GM sort of maintain spotlight management. Now,
I'd be great with that. By the way, and to be clear, and I said this in our previous Roll for Combat episode about Daggerheart, I think Daggerheart is really good, and I want to play it. The thing that I dislike the most out of the default rules, and that the gem thing helps, but maybe your version would be even better for me, Derek, is the thing I dislike the most is exactly the thing that you just said. So you gave a hot take that you knew would align with me, because yes, groupthink, and it's not about selfish players who want to hog the spotlight.
Correct.
It can be about overly selfless players who know that their character is in a bad situation.
Yeah, right. Like there's a lot of no, you go. No, you go.
Yeah, or even just like, I shouldn't go. I'm less likely to resolve this than you. I know, but I've gone the last several times.
Right.
I feel like you should get a chance. Yes, but if I do it, then we all might die because we were equivalently able to do it, and you're better in this situation again.
Yeah.
So I think that is the fact that I could be doing that means that I, as a player, will often be doing that to try to, because I'm sort of a facilitator at the table. I want my other people I want to make other people shine. I often play support.
Yep.
And I also want us to win.
Yep.
And so I will gladly, in every moment where I have to make a decision about Spotlight, I will push it away from myself. But then at the end, I will be left feeling unsatisfied if that turned out to have been the right decision every time, if that makes any sense. There'd be no individual thing with like, no, this is when I want to do it. But then at the end, I'm like, wait, I didn't do anything.
Right.
Ever.
So I also feel like that takes it takes a really cool lever away. And again, I talked about this on my streams, but it takes a really cool lever away from the GM. It really takes a really cool dial away, which is like, so this is something that I do a lot in PBTA type games, right? One of my main issues that I have with a traditional round-based initiative is there's a natural desire for the player to have a cool moment, right, on their turn. And probably I think we can all agree that one of the most disappointing things that can happen in a game of D&D or Pathfinder 2 is you take your turn, you spend your 2 actions to sudden charge, you go across the battlefield, you attack the big monster, you miss, you use your 3rd action to do a map attack, you miss, and it's the next person's turn. And, yes, you did something, but, you didn't really affect the narrative too. I mean, cool, you're over there, you're engaged now.
You made things worse usually.
Yes.
Unless the enemy is someone who wanted to make ranged attacks or something.
Right.
All you did was deliver yourself on a silver platter and
now it doesn't now it doesn't have to move. It doesn't have to
your final action should probably have actually been going back.
Moving backwards.
But then that would make you feel less like you did anything, but at least you prevented yourself from just getting killed.
You're absolutely right. The worst thing than doing nothing is when you feel like, well, all I've done is hurt us and put us in a worse position.
Correct.
And so one of the things that I love about running PBTA games, Dungeon World, etc., is that I can take a player's turn and they describe them running in and they attack the monster and they quote unquote miss. And the GM makes a move because that's what the way the game works. And I can understand that from a table perspective, these are very quick turns. You're not getting 3 actions. You just get 1 action basically. But I can choose to put the spotlight back on that player immediately, because I don't want to move the spotlight away from them until they've had a really cool moment or until at least something really dramatic and interesting happens. And really sort of spotlights that their character had that cool moment, right? Things got worse. What does your character do? You know, and like it might be as simple. Like I might describe that you come in, you swing your sword, the evil knight knocks the weapon out of your hand, and then I quickly go back to you. And then the guy describes how he reaches down to his belt, pulls out his dagger, and leaps for the guy's throat, and maybe succeeds, tackles him to the ground. And now they're rolling down the hillside. That's a cool moment. Your character had that cool moment. Now I feel more comfortable as the GM moving the spotlight off of your character and back onto somebody else because you got to have your cool moment in the sun. So I think that it's a really cool option as a GM. But the other thing is giving the players that freedom to choose who does what is a great way to also not explicitly, but implicitly set the stakes and the tone and the tension of the current scene. If it's a scene where the GM says, okay, what are you all doing? There's a natural implication to sort of say, okay, you know, we kind of have time in character and out of character to talk about this and discuss this. We have a moment to sort of figure out, okay, who should do what next? I'm going to do this. Okay, who are you doing? Okay, cool. But in a combat or other tense situation, the GM can really use that to their advantage to sort of highlight the chaotic, uncontrolled nature of that kind of situation by being like, the pillar is falling. Mark, what do you do? You know, and then really highlight, like, you're put on the spot, literally, because it's a tense situation. Okay, Mark is diving out of the way of the pillar. While that's happening, what are you doing? All right, Mark failed. The pillar's falling. Wizard, what do you do? I use a telekinetic push to push them out of the way. It's like, well, the rogue's like, well, I wanted to go. It's like, well, no, you don't get that choice because things are happening. You're being reactive as much as you're being proactive. And I really like that. And you can use that as a sense of like momentum in a combat. If the players feel like they are gaining the edge in the combat, maybe they start to call the shots a little bit more. You can use that. But if you want to ratchet up the tension, then that sort of dynamic spotlight management is a really cool tool keeping the GM's belt.
I could see that, Derek. In fact, maybe one of the ways you would do this if you were using this optional role system where the GM is actually deciding who goes. Normally, it stays with the players unless they either, you know, fail or roll with fear or the GM spends a fear. But one of the players, if they're just like, no, because Mark is like, I'm going to get hit by a pillar. I'm like, well, great. I'm terrible at getting hit by pillars. That's something, my character is weak against pillars. It's my kryptonite. But then Steven's like, well, I'm a wizard. Couldn't I telekinetically push this? And then maybe in this variant Derek system, you can spend a hope as a player to ignore Derek, the GM, when he decides which player is doing it, and instead just use the more favorable player in the same way that the GM can spend a fear
to interrupt
with a monster. So
absolutely,
this is my game designer cribbing a something more meat and mechanics onto the Derek variant here.
Yeah, and I think that's a really cool idea. In fact, one of the main things that I like about systems like this is my group of players and I love currencies because we love to be able to sort of negotiate the price of doing something and not feeling like we're just getting away with it. You know, because we're fine paying the price. What's that price going to be, you know? And, you know, like I said, when we used to play superhero games with like, you know, Mutants and Masterminds where you had these hero points, you know, somebody would try to do something really crazy and silly and stupid and maybe like really kind of bending the rules of like how that power works mechanically. And they would like bribe me, you know, it's like a bribe, really. It's like, I'm going to bribe, like, I'm cheating, but I'm going to bribe. And it's like, yeah, you earned it. You accumulated those points.
I mean, that's what you were supposed to do in Mutants and Masterminds. Right. The first Mutants and Masterminds game I ever played, we went up against an enemy with an insanely powerful force field. And I had a force cannon. And nobody was getting through her force field. So I said, can I like modulate my force cannon? So instead of even trying to hurt her, I just put it at the same frequency as the force field and knock it out so that other people can hit her without the force field.
Right.
And the GM said, use a hero point.
Use a hero point. Right.
I did.
It's a bribery, you know, sort of like bending the pool. And by the way, Mutants and Masterminds works the same way, where you say, blah, ha, ha, the villain appears and poison gas seeps up through the grates in the ground and you're all knocked unconscious and everybody gets a hero point. Yes, I'm cheating, but, you know, we're going to cut to the scene of you all in prison.
All right. So
that's part of the tone of the game.
Well, okay. Let's get to the next thing, which is people have been talking about the OGL.
Yes, there was a super chat from Sentinel Storm on that topic that says, "Does Daggerheart's license let them seize things like the bad version of the D&D OGL?"
Okay, so here's the thing. While you guys are talking, I'm reading through this.
I read through it as
well. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but I literally have a folder on my desktop called contracts, and these are my signed contracts. I actually was just curious. I mean, you have one of those, right, Derek and Mark?
Oh yes, of course.
Yes. I have 400.
I do have one. It's empty.
Okay. I have 410 contracts in my contracts folder. And this is the thing. This one's my new one. This is my contract folder that's only been for a couple of years. Just give you an idea. Now, I'm not an expert at contracts, but I do a lot of contracts. And I've seen a lot. And I talk to my lawyer every day. Actually, I didn't talk to him today, but I talked to him yesterday. I'm sure I'll talk to him later tonight. What is the exact issue with this? Because I'm being curious.
So the person in the chat says that their issue is that they think that Darrington can seize your stuff with it.
I'm asking.
I think that I read what they're
where does it say that?
11.1.
Okay, let me
is the issue.
Okay,
it says DRP. Darrington Press may modify or revise the license at any time in its sole discretion by posting the amended license on its website and announcing the change on at least one of their social media channels. The modification or revision will become effective after such postings. DRP will indicate on the license the date it was last amended. You are responsible for checking the license regularly for changes, and you waive any right to receive specific notice of change.
That's nothing. That's completely standard.
So the thing about this that makes it different than the OGL, because I looked into that one. That's not the one our super chatting person was pointing out, but that was the part I was the most worried about. And because of 11.3, which D&D did not do, 11.3 is something is an olive branch Darrington put in that basically says, hey, if you've already started a lot of work on your thing under the old version, it doesn't work with the new one. As long as you don't modify it again or create a derivative work, you still use the old version with your old work. The D&D version did not say that. And it did say that continue to publish anything was agreeing to their new terms. So you could easily wind up with physical product under that proposed, D&D never used that proposed OGL in the end, right? But under that proposed OGL, they could change it after you've already printed it in a way that makes everything you printed be illegal to sell. So you have dead products. Darrington has promised that they're not going to do that with 11.3. And so to me, that at least assuages my mind that they are not putting that in there with the intention of doing some super gotcha. The thing that people in our chat were worried about is losing your content to them. And that looks to me like they're just trying to defend themselves in case somebody somewhere comes up with an idea that's similar to Critical Role or Darrington.
Let me go through these because I can give history. Okay. 11.1 is standard. Back in the day, there used to be a similar provision before social media that you would actually have to put in advertisements in the local newspapers in the classified sections for like no less than 2 weeks. So that was the old provision of, quote, social media. So imagine having to realize, oh, you changed how would you know that the contract was changed? Well, didn't you see it in the paper in the classified section, which is like 500 pages long? That's like 2 inches, that's how they used to do that. I remember those. So
it was on display in a local filing cabinet lavatory with a sign on the door saying, beware of the leopard.
Exactly.
Exactly.
That is not new. So
it was. You couldn't even be bothered to go to Alpha Centauri? Oh, bloody
I know. I'm just thinking, Hitchhiker's Guide. I'm like, you didn't even see it? It's been there.
Yes, that was good, Mark.
That was good. That was very good, Mark. Of course, I thought of that. It's the same exact thing. So what's the other one? What 11.3 is fine. What's the other one people are complaining about? 6.5. Okay.
So the other one about 6.5 is, obviously racists, and people want to make sure that they can print their black people are stupid content.
Too bad.
And they hate the idea that a company, a private company, might say, hey, you can't use our game to make hate speech. And they're like, my freedom.
Freedom. I always ask, actually, won't become one of those channels, but everyone's like, what's the First Amendment mean? It's like, freedom of speech. I'm like, no, it means the government can't restrict your speech.
Right,
it doesn't mean what you think it means. That's what it means.
Private and public companies can do whatever the hell they want. Content.
They can do whatever they want. If they think freedom of speech has to do with private companies, nope. It only has to do with the government. So that's
absolutely not.
That is not released. The other one I saw that people might be a little pissed about is I saw the one where if they create things that are in similar vein to yours.
Yes, that's the one that someone in our chat was talking about, but that's just very standard.
That is so standard. I've signed 100 contracts with that, and it is incredible.
Right, the last thing you want is you publish something that gets 7 sales on Drive-Thru RPG, and then they release something called the Enchanter class, and then you're like, they stole it from me, you know?
Yeah, this was so similar to my Enchanter class, like especially with game design, where things just get similar,
standard,
and they get similar completely through coincidence of just the parallel game design mechanics. This happens all the time where someone's like, you must have taken this from thing X, and then the people didn't. Or you've even, there's one case where there was someone who was on stream creating an alchemist class that had many similarities to the Pathfinder one, which they had never seen, and they clearly were creating it on stream, not using the Pathfinder one. And people are like, you copied that. Like, they didn't. Okay, right? So isn't it just completely standard? That's standard. Text? And it does say that if they literally take it word for word from you, then they are not allowed to do that.
Yeah. And now this is stuff. Now, the other thing to keep in mind, so far, everything I'm reading in this are standard, which means that there's going to be thousands, if not tens of thousands of existing lawsuits that have already addressed these questions and these issues, and therefore there is precedent. So,
I think it's totally fine.
Yeah, I think it's all totally fine. And I have to say, in 6.5, I can see, okay, yes, you can read it, that you will not exercise, it says here, that all of this, you may not exercise the license right in a way that is bigoted, discriminatory, educated to any real world groups, illegal, obscene, or harassing is determined by D&D Press as their sole discretion. So they're the ones who decide whether or not your stuff is up to snuff. Hey, I like that. Yeah, you're right. And guess what? That's a risk. Okay. You know what? Could they go ahead and say,
I mean, I'll say this, if it's a risk, you fucking know what you're doing. So
exactly.
Stop.
And it's like, they're not going to sue you because you did happy-go-lucky, stuffed animal frame.
Look, I think I completely respect them that they, a private company, are allowing you to use their game rules to make stuff, and they don't want you creating smut or racist garbage. And I think that's awesome. And cheers to them. And I just,
whatever.
Anyways,
I don't know. I'm reading this. I don't see. I'm still waiting. If someone could tell me what the issue is, I don't see it.
No, those were I read it twice, and we think that they're not as bad as the people were saying. I would say that if they did not have 11.3, if it was just 11.1 and 11.2, there would be a concern.
By the way, here, let me give a super chat.
Because the concern would be that just like the D&D thing, you might have to destroy your already printed stuff when they change the license. But like 11.3, I think it's going to be okay.
Right.
I just put in chat the license, by the way, so you can look at it yourself. Because I'm not bringing it on screen. Sorry.
No, like you said, they basically said, hey, if the new license isn't fine, that's fine. You can continue to publish it under the old license. But if you do make a major revision to it, like a version 2, you need to bring it up to code with the new version. But we're not going to make you take down your old
That's actually,
thing.
That's not reasonable. It's not. I mean, I think this is fine. I mean, it's there's a balance here. Like, they're protecting their rights and their IP and their game, and they're giving you a pretty lenient, like, are they like saying go crazy? Which the OGL kind of does. Like the OGL is really lenient. It's actually, I'd almost say too lenient. Like, is this stricter than the OGL? Yes, it definitely is. Is it stricter than what I would consider modern day contracts? Not in any way, shape, or form.
I have at length defended Wizards of the Coast because I said the OGL was absurdly lenient, and people got way too fucking comfortable and expecting for other companies to be that crazy because, no offense, Mark, nobody wants to get Pathfindered, right? Like, nobody
Pathfinder.
I know. I'm just saying, nobody wants to get Pathfindered where they go and they take your game and they sell it and they change it a little bit and then they say, hey, it's D&D but better. and it's basically D&D, but look, it's illegal because of the OGL. And oh, hey, look, we're stealing your customers. Hey, look, we're maybe outselling you in certain markets. Hey, your game's getting fucked and we're doing great. Nobody wants to have that happen to them. So I think that people just got so privileged to think that like this, and I don't believe this at all. I've defended this so much, where people are like, D&D doesn't belong to Wizards of the Coast. D&D belongs to all of us. The fuck it does. Nope. Try to print D&D. Your ass is going to get sued. D&D does not belong to you. It does not belong to me. It does not belong to us. It belongs to Wizards of the fucking Coast. Full stop. You can't copyright game mechanics. It's a freedom. We're not talking about health. We're not talking about healthcare or the right to free speech or the right to freedom of religion. We're talking about a game. Mm-hmm. Stop. You're embarrassing yourself. Stop.
Yeah, not only that, it's like, how many of the people that are complaining are actually going to make a single piece of content for Daggerheart?
Nothing. It's crazy. Yeah.
Nobody.
Like, you're like, I wanted to create my fascist Daggerheart product, and I can't now. Man, these people, they're the fascists because they won't let me make my fascist product. Oh, they're so tolerant. They're so tolerant. They won't allow complete intolerance. It's bullshit. Anyways, I just can't stand people like that. It's just, I'm frustrated because I see it all over the internet, obviously.
What's the name of this RPG? They wanted to make Sea Lion RPG.
Right.
Wow.
But yeah, so I just can't stand that stuff. By the way, I can't stand it from two things, okay? Which is, that one, I think a company should, not only do I think they have the right to, I think they should stomp on, fascist stuff and stomp on, other stuff like that. But the other thing is, they owe you nothing. They own the game. It's their game. It's theirs to do what they like.
Itsy Bitsy Spider Productions tells you to calm down.
I know. I just get upset because,
calm down.
People are stupid. I don't know what they want.
Calm down. Hey, man, look, yeah. Anyhow, I think this OGL is fine. I think it is it's version 1.1. Oh, if they're going to change...
Wait, last thing. Promise, last thing.
Oh, God.
Last thing. If you don't like it, don't buy it.
Exactly.
Don't use it.
Or don't create content for it.
Go make your own game.
Or make your own content. You just can't
go make your own
it.
game. Yeah, go make your own game and have a community license that says, do whatever the fuck you want. I don't care. Freedom, and go for it. Knock yourselves out. You can do your game. You do whatever you want.
Hey, man. Yeah, anyone could do it. They just they want to.
No, they don't. They want to.
They want to know. I know. They want to. What's that saying that everybody use a lot? That I like that one. The yuck in your yum. That's it.
Yeah. Right. Yuck. Yeah. They don't want to yuck your yum.
Yuck your yum. They want to yuck your yum. How dare you?
Just don't play it. No one's putting a gun to your head, and not only that, no one's putting a gun to your head and saying you have to play Daggerheart. Do you know how many RPGs there are? Exactly. There's so many RPGs.
Hey, man, they got to bring down the big boy. They got to bring down the Matt Colville.
Itsy Bitsy Spider says decaf is a thing. Listen, if you watch the beginning of this stream, you saw me crushing this.
Yeah, whatever.
Junderlin, the hobby might be based on community interaction and building, but the products and the games are not. The products and the games are delivered by companies, and companies do what companies do.
Yeah,
you're right, Derek, but it is true that the value like in those graphs Steven had from that one weird video game slide deck that one time, the value that goes up exponentially is in the networking of the fans and those externalities.
Yeah, well,
but I agree with poor kid, right? The proof is in the pudding. It's the bottom line. If a company is out of sync with the community and the community's desires and the community's things, people will not buy their products and they will go out of business. Full stop.
Yeah. And also keep in mind is that, okay, so it's version 1.1. Will they maybe do a new version? Maybe. It's going to really take something dramatic for them to make, say, a version 1.2 or a version 2.0. And what would they add to it? If anything, and I've seen these over the years, even the SRD, what's it up to 5.2? They actually just updated to 5.2.1, which means there was a small update. Maybe they made a spelling mistake. It's usually something extremely minor. Okay. It's not going to be something major. And if it is something major, well, they can have another OGL on their hands if they go crazy. So this is fine. I mean, whatever. Oh.
I mean,
I think that did you guys see the Daggerheart OGL problem? It looks like it may be mirroring the D&D OGL scandal.
Obviously not watching.
Or trolling.
Or it's an AI bot, or they're trolling us.
It might be.
I actually like. I'm going to go for AI bot, but
I'm going to say AI bot.
Like, ultimately, I think the three of us agree that while there may be surface level similarities between some of the things that look concerning in the Wizards OGL because of the fact that the Darrington people sort of dealt with it, and because it's a new license and not some kind of a revocation and replacement of an existing license that people were already in the middle of making stuff for.
Right.
I think those two factors make this a very different situation.
Yeah.
I think all three of us agree.
The other thing is too, is as a general panacea for companies doing things. Like, for example, I hate Demiplane. You know who has stuff on Demiplane? Daggerheart. You know who also has stuff on Demiplane? Pathfinder 2nd edition. You know which companies also completely give away all of their rules for free and all of their classes and all of their feats and all of their cards and all of their Pathfinder 2 and Daggerheart. So like that goes a long way towards like being like, hey, we're doing this thing, but also here's our rules for free and you can play our game and never give us $1. Like, it's really hard to argue with any company that is literally giving you their game for free. So, yeah.
Well, you can still,
I won't support you,
argue.
But I will still play your game and not give you any money. But damn it, I'm not supporting you. Okay, cool. I mean,
so at the risk of portmanteauing us into another portmanteau, Mr. Bandana Head sent a super chat. Off topic, I'm hyped for the Shadowdark contest. Finally get to submit my nautical themed dungeon with Admiral Glick, his alchemist Seifter, and a plague doctor, the Melenda. This is not a joke.
I'm sure it'll do very well, and I will give it full marks. Seifters.
Yes. I was about to say, you're going to give it full Seifters? Yeah. Mark is my middle name, so you get both.
Yeah, so the full marks is both of us.
Right. But yeah. So, yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Actually ran out of words to say. Derek, he's finished. We're done. We drained him. 35 hours. He did it. We finally broke him.
We figured it out.
I have done like
it's just like how
80. I have done like 80 hours of streams.
I know. You were like,
last 2 weeks.
You know,
it's just like how Zap Brannigan defeated the Killbots by sending wave after wave of his own men at them until they hit their preset kill limit.
You know, it's so funny. You think of Zap Brannigan. I think of something very different. I think of Blazing Saddles, where Madeline Kahn's like, oh, another like Frühstück, and it's like a hot dog like this big. He's like, oh, you know what, 23 is my limit. I was like, okay, that's what got Derek. It took 85 hours of streaming, but we broke him. We finally broke the Derek.
No, it's all I have to say about that.
Okay,
Yes.
and that's all I have to say.
Right. Life is like a box of chocolate. That's all I have to say about that. And
that's all I got to say about that. I did put a link in the stream. So to do another tangent. So yes, we have more details. If you subscribe to the Roll for Combat newsletter, I put additional details on the Shadowdark design contest. Also, if you go to shadowdark.rollforcombat.com, which is right there it's on the screen, you could sign up. You don't have to put down the $1. You could just sign up. The Shadowdark Kickstarter goes live next month. And I actually got most of the dungeons done. I started on the form. I started laying out the actual overview of how you can submit your dungeons. And you get to design a Shadowdark dungeon. And the winners, the Shadowdark dungeon is something this big. So it's basically a 2-sided dungeon. It's about 550 words of content on one side. We're going to give you pre-made dungeons to choose from, probably about 20-ish. And you will just fill out a form. You design your dungeons. You can design up to 3 dungeons, 1 for each book. We will give you some pre-made monsters for each book. You could also use any of the Shadowdark monsters from the core RPG rules. And the winners will get a cash prize. They'll get published, and we will run your dungeon probably at Origins, definitely at Gen Con next year. So,
and it's about 550 on the back. It's about like 150 to 250 on the front.
Yeah, I'm gonna
for the random encounter table
numbers.
and the item and things. So it adds up to like 700 to 800 when you're all said and done.
Think. Yeah.
What?
A lot more than you think.
It's more than you think, and the amount of mental effort you have to put in per word is more in Shadowdark because of the fact that you're creating so much dungeon. Like, this is an amount of dungeon that in a D&D dungeon you would have had like 12 pages for it, but you're condensing it all down. You have to think carefully about your information design. Often you might have written more words and then you cut to only put in what was important. So yeah, it's more than you think on that front and back.
303 Cisco, and he's not a bot. He's actually getting angry. All right, well, here
no, he's not getting angry. But I did say that's just what a bot would say.
I know. So just go back. We went through it. Pretty much, I read through the
I went through it. Bot. I thought he just didn't watch.
We just went through this whole thing.
He suddenly started watching us right after we finished talking about it. That happens all the time on this channel.
Oh, yeah, it happens. We just went through this and how it's actually, and we're the ones who broke the OGL. So I know the OGL pretty well. We know, we're back chair, side chair lawyers here. I deal with contracts every day.
I am not a lawyer, nor do I pretend to be one.
No, but I've signed.
I don't know what a back chair, side chair lawyer is, but whatever it is, we're not that.
Yes, we are. We're lawyers we are game lawyers.
I step away from that.
Okay.
I step completely away from that.
I disavow this.
You disavow this? Well, this is what I do. I do write my own contracts and I do amend my own contracts. My lawyer does look at them. So I have gone through and probably amended over 1,000 contracts in my life.
Here, this is how Derek would make a contract. Hey, ChatGPT, I need a contract for this, please.
That is not something you want to do. But here's the thing: you don't even need to do that.
I just said I am not a lawyer.
Well, you don't do that. Although 95% of contracts are
boilerplate.
And this is the funny thing is, God, everyone is doing that because I have gotten over the last 3 to 4 years, I'm getting contracts from other people. And I just like, oh my God, this contract is garbage. And my lawyer looks at it and goes, and we're like, this is all ChatGPT. We can tell everyone is using ChatGPT because the biggest problem is that these contracts have sections that contradict each other. And when that happens, it gets null and voided. So it gets
nullified.
Right. It gets nullified. So it's like, that's actually the worst thing you want. So like,
especially if you didn't include a clause that says that the rest of the contract stands even if certain points get nullified, because then the whole thing.
Mark, your lawyer is showing.
Your lawyer is showing. You're like, you said, oh, I have nothing to do with this.
I'm not a lawyer, but I know how to write contracts.
But I play one on TV.
Okay, the most complicated thing that I have successfully done is a merger between two companies because of the fact that Maryland does not allow you to like move your company to Maryland, but it does allow you to start a company in Maryland that merges and gains all of the things from your first company. And I'm going to tell you that was very complicated.
So we had a super chat.
Two super chats.
We did a super chat from Garhent, who said the tourists are buying Daggerheart and they will read it and not play it. I will admit this is very possibly a concern. Same group who bought the BG3 figures to display, not play, and complained about WizKids painting being horror bad. Well, to be fair,
was really bad, that painting.
WizKids painting has always been horror bad.
Yeah, but this was like a whole other level of horror bad.
That was especially bad, and it was some people's first experience with it. It wasn't as bad as Faya from the Reign of Winter set, which is, as far as I've seen, the worst WizKids painting of all time, and they actually replaced them. I don't know if any of you saw the original Reign of Winter Faya, but it's just like this blobfish face. It's just, let's see if I can find it.
I'm just saying, all of those sculpts are pretty terrible, and they always have been pretty terrible. So, don't like. For me personally, that to me is like show you don't know anything about miniatures. Well, being surprised that the WizKids paint thing were bad. It's like that's how you show to me that like, oh, so you don't know anything about minis, because those paint jobs and those sculpts have always been terrible.
We got another chat. Have you guys listened to the Darrington Press Open Gaming License? It's basically worse than the OGL 2.0. It's really
this is
horrible.
What makes it seem like it's bots is that it just keeps coming up every while. It's not bots, but it just seems like it is.
We literally just went through this for half an hour.
Right.
And then the other person did. So, Derek, I'm going to send this to you in the Zoom chat, but this is the Feyre thing. And keep in mind the sculpt that they showed people in preview for Feyre looked fine, but look at the face in particular.
Yeah, I mean that looks like D&D minis caliber paint job. It's pretty terrible. Obviously, it's horrible. But the other thing too is these minis are designed to be played, so the paint job has to look good at what 3, 4, 5 feet. At 3 or 4, 5 feet.
It's a question of what they advertise and what people. It's you can't show pristine, high quality minis and sell that and then get total garbage, and that's the problem.
I don't disagree, but also I have no idea what the price was, which I'm sure was
doesn't
obscene.
Matter. Doesn't matter. Well, but, it doesn't matter if it was like $1. Okay, fine.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
yeah, okay, fine.
But long story short, Garhent, yes, I'm aware of Avatar Legends. Right, the game came out, everyone was excited, they bought it, and then it sat on the shelves because nobody wanted to play it.
Well, it wasn't that great a game.
It's a really great game. In fact, it's one of the best PBTA games ever created, and I still stand by that.
I still say it's not that great.
Well, it mismatched expectations.
Yes,
it mismatched expectations. The things it had were great, but it didn't have things that people wanted.
I will. Yes, as someone who has never really watched Avatar, the only thing I watched was the live action on Netflix.
Someone who never watched Avatar, didn't watch Avatar Legends. Okay, yes. I'm sorry, didn't watch Avatar Legend of Korra, didn't watch Avatar: The Last Airbender, and whose first time ever playing Powered by the Apocalypse was with me, on the cough and a one shot at Origins playing Avatar, and I remind you, a great time.
I kicked ass.
Your opinion holds very little water with me at this point.
Good, but my point is that I like action RPGs. And in my opinion, it's very easy to add the social aspects to an RPG that already has action in it.
Well, then you are fine because the first page of Daggerheart says, what is this game about?
I love Daggerheart. I think Daggerheart's great.
They said, this is a heroic, narrative-focused experience that features combat as a prominent aspect of its play.
And it's fun.
So they are basically saying, like, hey, we're going to tell stories and then fight things. And then we're going to tell stories and then we're going to fight some more things.
And I really liked the fighting. When I played it, I really enjoyed it quite a bit.
Yeah, it's fun.
And I like the cards. I like the layout of the sheet. I like how you pull them out. I was having a very good time with that. So I like the tactile feel to it.
Oh, I love the tactile feel. But then you know what? Because here's the thing. I've gone on length by being like, it's not a board game. But you know what?
It kind of is.
I wish it was more of a board game. Because you know what I fucking love? You know what I love? And you know what sells more than TTRPGs? Board games.
Not anymore.
You know? Well,
with the tariffs, that might
not with the 55% tariff. They ain't.
Not with the 55% tariff.
So, we did get the second super chat. Anthony Peterson, who said that his PF2E group does not want to try Daggerheart because it's a large upfront investment, and they want to wait and see how the community judges it long term.
That's fine.
That's fine.
I mean,
I guess life.
Yeah, I think that's fine, Anthony. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
plus you couldn't buy it
easier. Couldn't buy it if you wanted. Let's want to get digital. Let's want to get digital. Here's the thing. What I think it gets down to. Oh, do you have racquetball today, Eric?
Always.
He always has racquetball. I just want to make sure. So,
but I don't have to end precisely at 5 because we're playing at 5:45. So,
look at that.
Why do you normally play at 5 and we end at 5 and you're like always? No,
we normally play at 5:30.
Okay. So we have to end at 5:15.
We got a little bit of extra time
to end. Use the bathroom, maybe grab a piece of fruit, change, get in my thing, drive to the club, and then get there in time to play. But now,
and also we will not have Derek here next week.
That's right, because Derek,
he's going to be at Origins.
No, I will not be at Origins because I have a dinner on Tuesday with my wife. She's like, by the way, we're going to have 15 people here next week. I'm like, great. And then Thursday, my son graduates from high school, but he's actually in a school within a school. It's called the A School. So he graduates the A School on Thursday, and then no, he graduates on Wednesday. Sorry. So we have a big dinner here Tuesday, a big dinner here Friday, big dinner here Wednesday, basically every day I have something going on here. So I'm not going to Origins, which sucks because I really wanted to go. But
I'm actually
can't get
wearing
away. Even for a day, I can't even get away.
I'm wearing my Origin shirt. What are we?
I was at
doing
that
here?
party, the Halcyon days when you could just give shirts away for free.
Yes.
But now you can't.
No, we have we have an Origins 2025 shirt. They're arriving tomorrow.
Oh, I guess you're still living the Halcyon days.
I mean, I'm struggle busting, but yes, listen, if I can't do shirts, what are we even doing here?
What are we even doing here? That should be the shirt. What does it say on the shirt? Are you going to say?
No, it says, what are we even doing? This year's?
Yeah.
This year's has a blatantly stolen still from Game of Thrones episode where Drogon attacks the caravan and he's blowing up all the wagons with his fire breath. And then at the bottom it says, level appropriate damage.
That's pretty good. So, and then the week after that, I will not be here because I will be in Maine having fun. So
we're in
Here we go.
Maine. Actually, I like Maine, but
I was going to the same place. I've been going there every year for like 8
you were
years.
talking about that, the ice cream place.
We actually talked about it. We just had a conversation yesterday. You know what I said? They said, "Oh, they added a new flavor," and then my daughter's like they needed to."
Yeah.
The Scoop Shack, because they have like 150 flavors, and they're like, they added one. How can you even tell? It's ridiculous. Best ice cream I've ever had. And we go every night, and there's a half-hour line, and they have like 100 freaking like cashiers, and it's still like beyond packed. Excellent. Anyhow.
Yeah. But long story short, Tasmokin, we did talk about that at length, and the long story short is these folks who aren't lawyers but are RPG publishers feel that this is pretty standard and actually isn't anything that anybody should be worried about. It basically just protects Daggerheart if you make something and they make something that you can't be like, you stole it from me, because
that's standard. If so, there was this. If you want to look up someone who did this, so Harlan Ellison is famous for this. So Harlan Ellison wrote short stories, and he wrote, about 1 trillion. Okay. I mean, this guy wrote more short stories than anyone knows, anyone on planet Earth. Like this guy, and he was in Hollywood in the heyday of the 50s and 60s, and he just wrote and wrote and wrote. He also wrote for The Outer Limits. He wrote for Twilight Zone. Like he wrote a lot of science fiction, a lot of fantasy. And that was his first hobby. His second hobby was suing people, and he would sue everyone. And I mean everyone all the time. Because if you published a story that even came close to one of his stories, he'd sue you. Right. And it was just cheaper to buy him out than to like go to court. And in fact, the Terminator, if you see the Terminator, he sued Cameron because he said that it was a Man with the Glass Hand was a similar story. And sure enough, they settled out of court. And if you watch the Terminator, there is a credit to Harlan Ellison in the beginning of the Terminator. He sued, look it up. He was insane. Like he actually sued Marvel, and then Marvel had to send him every single comic they ever published forever. For some reason, that was like part of the settlements. Like, so he would brag about it. He would go pick at people. He was just nuts. And so that's why this is in there, because they didn't have things like this back then. Back in the days, they would just like, you would just make something and you could sue because your works were close. And especially in today's media where, oh my God, how many things are like now, like we're talking like he was suing people when the only things really were print, a little bit of TV, where there was like 3 channels on TV and movies, Now, okay, we have like endless entertainment. Yeah, you can't sue for derivative or works that are similar, okay? Right. It has to be, the only thing you can really protect at this point are likenesses, names, colors. Like, it's actually pretty fascinating what little you can protect now, not the other way around. Like,
So, yeah. So the core of it is this. Imagine I make a monster and I call it the Spine Hound, and I post it on Reddit. Okay. And then the people who make a game, could be Shadowdark, could be Daggerheart, could be Shadowdark, could be Daggerdark. They make a monster, and it's called the Spike Hound, and it has an ability to fling spikes off of its back, and it has sort of like an aura that if you get too close to it, it does damage to you, which is kind of what my monster did, sort of. But also, it's a dog monster with spikes on its back, so of course it's what it does. Now, mine was a Spine Hound, yours is a Spike Hound. And by the way, I posted that on Reddit, and like it got 7 upvotes, so clearly it was part of the community IP. Should I be able to sue Shadowdark Bane for copyright infringement for stealing my design? Now, you clearly think, yes, I should. That they stole my idea, clearly. They saw it. They said, that's so cool. We're going to steal it from Derek. He posted that on Reddit. 7 upvotes. He was clearly going to be able to, cash out and retire early on the strength of that design. And look at them just stealing from him. If you think that I should be able to sue Kelsey or something because she stole my design because I said I made a Spine Hound on Reddit and she made a Spike Hound in her new book.
No, Derek, they think you're going to be able to sue Matt Mercer, even though he's not even closely related in any way to how it is. Right. But the people who think that you're going to be able to sue probably think that the person you're suing is Matt.
Right. Sorry.
So Daggerheart is like, we're not cool with that. So that's why that's in their license. They don't want you to feel like just because you publish something somewhere, that if they publish something similar, if you make a class, right? Like I made a subclass the other day on our stream. It's called the Firebrand. It's a bard subclass. It's a rabble rouser. Darrington doesn't want to fuck with me when they create a subclass for the bard called the Firebrand, and maybe it does something completely different. And I go, yo, I'm going to sue you because you stole it from me. And I wouldn't want to deal with that shit either. So, yeah.
As someone I sign contracts with Fortune 500 companies all the time. I've signed contracts with Disney. I've done Harry Potter work. I've done Timon and Pumbaa work. I've worked with Little Bill. I've worked with Blue's Clues. I've worked with all these companies. Standard. I'm telling you that right now. So,
and to the point that, the OGL doesn't include that, and neither does the Shadowdark license. Yeah. And that means you could technically try to sue them. You probably almost assuredly won't win.
Yeah.
But it's the same way that like one musician from the 70s like had a 4 chords in his song, like tried to sue Ed Sheeran. He said, hey, you use those 4 chords in your song, you clearly stole them from me. And Ed Sheeran was like, there's like literally 10,000 songs that use those 4 chords. He's like, yeah, but listen, you use those 4 chords in that order, and that means that you stole my complete song.
Actually, you want to hear a really
sad
sad
had to fight
story?
him in court, and he won. Ed Sheeran won, by the way, but he had to fight him in court. He was allowed to sue him because that's the way that the license works. So yes, Shadowdark would let you technically try to sue Shadowdark for stealing your design. I don't think you would win in a million trillion years, but this license says, you know what, we kind of want to shortcut that and just say, but look right here. Oh, okay. And it just gets dismissed. It probably doesn't even ever make it to court.
So Men at Work, if you really want to be depressed one day, I want to look this up for a second. They had a lawsuit for their song Down Under, okay? Because they have a flute riff. And the flute riff was actually part of a traditional children's song called, Kookaburra Sits in the Old Gum Tree. And they were sued endlessly. And I mean endlessly. It actually drove them like insane. And I think like one of them died, and like this went on forever.
Wait, one of them died because of
the stress of the lawsuit. The stress of the lawsuit. Because they were sued. So they were sued years later, and the company that had that Kookaburra Sits Under the Old Gum Tree was asking for 60% of all profits of all time. Like, after years have gone by, like they didn't have it. And then they had to spend millions to defend themselves. And so they lost all their money. They lost everything just fighting this lawsuit. And after it was all said and done, the judge ordered that they had to pay 5% of the royalties. From a 1980s song, they had to pay 28 years later 28 years. In July of almost to the day, July 6th, 2010. Okay, not to the day. I'm thinking June. They had to pay back 5% of all royalties for 28 years of music, which is also still a pain. It's that is why that is in there. Okay, that's why, to protect against things like this. Okay.
One of my favorite music industry stories is, of course, Vanilla Ice, right? Stole the dun 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 the bass line.
Yeah.
And then, Queen sued him. The David Bowie Queen stone, whatever, sued him. And then Vanilla Ice's lawyers were like, it's going to be cheaper for you just to buy the Under Pressure song.
Oh, yeah,
so
yeah.
Vanilla Ice bought at great expense the entire rights to Under Pressure. And then years later, he was on an interview and he said, I made more money off of the royalties from Under Pressure, which I now own.
Yes.
Than I did off of my own music collection.
Yeah.
It's like, it turned out to be the best situation of all time because, it's great,
Mark didn't believe me that the Men at Work, Colin Hay.
No, I believed you.
No, I know, but I just said you
what?
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because the stress of having to, I'm literally giving the abridged version. This went on for years, and they had to spend millions to defend themselves.
What I'm trying to put myself is, and maybe I'm just an idiot, so that is a possibility. I try to put myself into the mentality of a person who is either so narcissistic or probably narcissistic or something, that they really think that, because this is what the person's thinking. I'm going to make something. I'm going to put it on Drive-Thru-RPG, and it's going to be so popular. And Darrington Press is going to sit there at night. Spencer's going to sit there with Rowan and Mike, and they're going to be like, "Oh my God, I can't believe how good this random person is. We got to destroy them. We got to publish. We got to publish and steal that from them and make it so that they can't compete with us because we're so jealous of this random person on Drive-Thru-RPG. And we will they really think that is what this company is going to do. I cannot bring into my being this idea that there's some ever chance that would happen or that I would care about it or that it would happen. They're just going to copy paste what I wrote and they're going to put it into their official thing. And I'm going to get no credit because of this horrible license. And they're just going to steal me. And that
license, actually, if they copy pasted, is the one thing that they said that they can't do. That you actually are okay if they copy paste.
They're going to totally take inspiration from what I designed, and they're going to make
something substantially similar to what I created.
I posted 4 new ancestries for Earth, Air, Fire, and Water beings, and then they went and they made a new release with 4 ancestries of Earth, Air, Fire, and Water. They clearly stole from me. The air creature. Guess what? Mine can fly. Theirs can fly. Tell me it's not the same thing. Tell me it's not the same thing.
The water creature can swim?
Mark, it's crazy. And you know what?
It can breathe underwater?
It makes sense because I could clearly see how jealous they are of my game design skills. And they are just going to come in here and putting yourself into that mind state where you think you're that important and that good. I can't do it. But maybe that's also why I don't publish anything. Because maybe in order to publish anything, you have to be a little bit narcissistic, right, boys? You got to be like, look how good my stuff is. People will buy this.
Well, it's like the patent trolls. That's basically
Eldemon. It is true.
The patent trolls. So patent trolls they take a patent and then they sue everyone that has something similar. It's really becoming a big problem. So someone did a patent on podcasts, and then they went out and sued all the podcasters. This is actually kind of a funny story. And then they realized, no podcasters have money, and they were just like, oh, well, what are you going to do? Come after us? Come after our nothing money? Because the vast majority, there's a couple that do pretty well. But to be honest, almost all of them do nothing and have no profits and just do it for the love of it. And even the ones that do well, are extremely rare. And
I think we did 200, 300 hours of podcast. And I think we made $14 total.
Exactly. And it was it's like they basically actually gave up. Or it wasn't even gave up. I think some big company just said, we'll take care of all this, and represented all podcasters and said good luck, and that was the one time one of the patent trolls were actually defeated because podcasters have no money.
And you know what bamboozled? Good. You know why? Because most third-party content creators, not all of them, but most of them, are garbage.
I don't know if that's true,
No, that's
but
true,
it depends
Mark,
on it depends on how you're going to try to
like I'm talking about shit that just throws up on DM Guild or Drive Through RPG. Somebody types something into a Word doc. It's never been play tested. It's never been played. It's just somebody thought this would be a cool feat or a cool ancestry. They just throw it up there and ask people to pay $4.95. Tasmokin, yes, literally it is on my screen.
Section 5. What's Section 5? Man, people just really love this OGL thing. Can't get away from it, Mark. No matter where we go, it's always an OGL.
It's the
same couple
it's
people
the core
in
thing.
the chat that are asking about it multiple times. It's not like we have the 230 people watching, like 12 people asking about it.
Wait, what section?
It's what Mark is talking about. It says DRP does not intend to copy or infringe upon any content that you make.
About.
I know it says, however, because of the possibility that they may independently develop or publish materials that are similar to the content created by third parties in exchange for using our license and our game for free and making money off of our game for free.
Yeah, you know what? They're actually outlining. This is actually so well written. They didn't even have to do that. They outlined that to emphasize the point that this is what you get.
You hereby waive and release any and all claims, demands, or causes of action that you may have in the future against Darrington for infringement, misappropriation, or violation of rights. In particular, they have the right to develop, acquire, license, sell, and exploit and share materials and content that may be substantially similar to or otherwise compete with your content.
Okay, so wait. Okay,
that they agree it is not identically copying it.
And this is the thing. Okay, you guys are lawyers. There are actual laws that supersede this. So, for example, copyright law. So I can't say, oh, they came out with whatever. They came out with Shadowzoo. Okay, we're going to come out with Shadowzoo, and we're going to copy it exactly the same. We're going to make it identical. We're even going to change. We're going to keep the name. We're going to keep logo, everything. And because you agreed to this contract and you agreed to Section 5, there's nothing you can do. Wrong. So copyright law supersedes this.
I'm actually curious. I'm wondering. I'm not a third-party publisher. Would people prefer it if they had a license which said, you may publish stuff, and in exchange, we agree we will not publish anything that is similar in like or kind or appearance, and we will not compete with you. However, in order to acquire this license, you need to pay us, I don't know, some massive royalty, or you need to give us a cut. Like, would you rather have that? Right. That sounds like that's what you'd rather have.
No, basically, you want it both ways.
Really, you want it free, but also you can't do anything either. Like, I don't.
It's really weird though, Derek. Though, because it's not only does it have the issue that you outlined, but even if they said no, somehow we're going to be looking at everybody's products for free to make sure we never do anything like it, and we're not charging you a cent. But Darrington and neither Darrington nor anyone else who uses this license either will ever do anything that's like yours once you put it out.
Right.
And that sounds like what you're saying is the first rando to put out, like, I don't know, like you said, an ancestry that's a fire guy. It's like now nobody else can do it.
You know what that's like?
It's bad. It's like, those are like too late. Nobody else can do it.
Those are like the people who went out and bought tens of thousands of websites, and then they just sit on them until somebody eventually makes a company called that, and then they go, it'll be $10,000.
Oh yeah, that was
a big thing. That was
that used to be the .com
website parking.
Oh yeah, that was a big one. That used to be,
or the one country that's like country code or whatever is .ai or whatever.
Whatever. That's all they did.
Sold the .tv country code.
Tuvalu with the .tv. Yeah, exactly.
Right, all those.
Oh, you know what? I'm going to release tomorrow a 7,000 page Daggerheart release that is going to basically have everything that you could ever make, and it'll be completely garbage. And then when somebody makes something like it, I'm going to sue them, and I'm going to say, hey, you totally stole that from me. By making that, you are competing with me. Now no one's going to buy my 7,000 page PDF that costs $1 that has every single possible class name.
And not only that,
wait.
Okay. There's something else that you actually have to realize. Okay. And then I'm going to put this to rest. I'm done with this subject. Battlecry, by the way. Battlecry!
By the way, apparently this is happening because your friend I don't know her. Your friend, Dungeons and Discourse, apparently
I know,
just made her,
she put out a video.
She made her own clickbait
I know.
video.
I'm gonna call. I almost got her on the street. I'm like, what did you do? Let's talk. I want to get you on next week and let's go through this. And like,
listen,
that's actually that'll get a lot of freaking.
You know what? You know what, Glicker? You know what? You've
What?
been out clickbaited, my friend.
I was out
Okay?
clickbaited.
But he's
You were
always been
out-clickbaited.
out clickbaited by her. She's way more.
Oh, she's way worse than me. Way worse. Every week it's
You would say better or worse.
Yeah, you could say
I
better
think of
or
it as
worse.
But you can
I've
also say
gotten
better.
much. I've gotten pretty relaxed in my old age. I'm
I
like,
think so. Your
my
your
clickbaits
things have
aren't
not
even-
alarmed
not
me
even
or made
close.
me stressed
No,
out about how
no.
clickbaity they were in a while.
I mean, it's been a long
I've
time
lost
since-
my touch. With
It's
the
been a long
clickbaiting.
time since, like, you know, Wizards comes for the OGL. Are they coming for your children next? Question mark, exclamation point. Shocked blonde girl. Like, we've come a little bit from that.
I like those shocked blonde girls, and everyone's like, "Why aren't they in the video?" That's my favorite one. I gotta do some with you, Derek. Some shocked Derek's. It's like, oh. Although I will say, Derek, Mark in his videos, he tries to do the clickbait. I gotta show you how to do it right though, because you're Arcane Mark. You do the shocked Mark and the shocked Linda, but I gotta help you with your backgrounds, man.
I don't.
What's wrong with our backgrounds on the
Dude, I gotta help you. They're terrible. They're so plain. You gotta put some depth, some focus, man. Gotta help you with that. Okay.
All right, I'm going.
You
over to
can
Mark.
only sue for damages, which means if you put out a PDF that costs $1 and you have sales of, I'll be generous, 100 people buy it. You have sales for $100. You can't sue Darrington Press for $100 million in lost sales. That's not going to happen. You can only sue for what you would have lost in expected sales.
I'm going to try to bring in these theories that people have so that you can rebut them. Okay. So let's say that I put out the Fire Dude ancestry, and that is something I put out. Like you said, it cost $1. I sold 30 copies, so I made $30.
Actually,
and
after
Darrington puts out the Daggerheart Land of Flame, which is like this mega thing that's all about fire. And I'll be generous and say 10% of it is that they're really focused on this fire ancestry as well, which is substantially similar, not a direct copy.
Okay.
But you've decided it was similar enough, you thought there was a problem, right? And you wanted to sue.
Right.
Suppose that I made $30 on mine. Suppose that Darrington made $500,000 on theirs, which I am maintaining that 10% of it was the same of mine.
Okay.
Could I try to say I want 50,000 because that 50,000 that they made on that 10% was the same, assuming that there were no licenses or anything else?
Yeah.
Even though I only made 30, if they sold something that was basically, I said the same for more, I couldn't sue for that?
You can sue for anything you want. You can sue for $1 trillion.
You just wouldn't win because they
no. You can sue for there's no law. You can sue what you will. A smart lawyer will tell you this is what you will get. At most, you will get $50,000. Maybe you'll get a little bit more if they can base it on future sales. Best case scenario, I will literally bring back that Men and Work because they sued for a flute riff from something that they bought. They basically they didn't own. Very long story short, the Men at Work, it was like a 2-second flute riff that was based off of a children's song. A very large company got it. Then they sued Men at Work and they asked for 60% of all profits of all time. After it was all said and done, they got 5%. Which is still probably too much.
That's a lot for a single flute riff. Unless it was a very short song that was heavily focused on that flute riff.
No, it's a very, very popular song. So they actually found, okay, there was precedent, but 5% is the max you'll get. I thought it probably should be like 2%. But the point being, so if you sue, you maybe will get at most 10% of all profits to date and maybe future profits.
But maybe that's what the person wanted.
Yes, but they would have to go through court and the amount of money it would cost.
Oh yeah, it would cost way more than $50,000.
Yeah, yeah, okay, like right. In other words, and which is what they might hope. Well, Critical Role is $1 billion company. They could just settle with me out of court, and they'll cost them less. Which is, by the way, what a lot of these people will.
Very true.
Right, which is what they will do. Right.
I worked in auto insurance industry, and let me tell you something. The reason people sue so much is because they know it's cheaper for us to settle with you than to take it to court.
Exactly.
And as long as that's true, right? You basically are opening the invitation to that.
Right.
So.
Honestly, I think this hypothetical person who sold 30 copies for $30 would be more than happy. A lot of them would be more than happy winning or getting a settlement out of court that just.
What they would probably do is say,
with not
we'll
even
give you
almost any
we'll
money,
give you $500.
just be like, this was based on an original fire ancestry
Right.
by Derek Melenda.
Right.
Yeah, but not only that,
that,
this is what it would happen. This is what they would say. It's like, okay, I don't want to deal with this. You don't want to deal with this. I'll tell you what, just to put this behind us, here's $500, and you now give us rights to everything you've ever done forever.
Right. It would be a very, 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 very broad license that you were giving up there. In that,
exactly.
In that
it's like, oh, so that did probably did not go the way you thought it would go at all.
Trust me, when you get in an automobile accident, okay, this happens all the time. Your insurance company or whoever's you're dealing with is going to call you up, and they're going to try to settle you, and they're going to try to bribe you with an amount of money, and you are going to release them from so much responsibility that you won't even be able to believe how much responsibility that you will release them from. But in exchange, they're like, but we'll give you $1,000.
Right.
You know, your neck's a little sore. Okay. Sounds like, you know what? Sounds like you had a really rough day. How about we give you $1,000 for your trouble? You know, we'll get your car fixed and we'll give you $1,000. How's that sound? Just don't go to the doctor and don't get a lawyer and sign this massive release of indemnity.
And that's what will happen. They'll say, okay, we'll give you $1,000. And now we literally want your entire catalog.
Yeah, because they're basically like, look, you did this to us once, we'll pay you, but you're not doing it to us again.
Exactly. Right. And then they'll have to sign away rights. They'll indemnify. They'll say, oh, so you indemnify us, and which is really bad. You never want to sign an indemnification. And if you do, it has to be mutual, by the way.
By the way, just spoiler alert, if someone does hit you and you don't live in a PIP state, so if you live in New York or whatever, forget about this. But if you don't live in a state like New York or Florida, or Kansas,
by the way,
or Washington,
Steven, there is an 8 in this as an indemnification.
I know. But that
you just said you never want to set an indemnification, and there is an indemnification.
There is an indemnification, but that's standard. Because
I knew it was standard. That's why I was surprised that you said you never want to sign one.
Well, you never want to sign. Well, let me rephrase that. Where you are working with somebody, it's a mutual agreement, because that is ridiculous. You want either dual indemnification. This is a one-sided agreement, so they have to put it in. Right. And by the way, you're
because you were implying your acknowledgement of this without their idea that you're even using it.
Yes.
Right. Whereas if two people are coming into it, willingly and not, but anyway, I was gonna say, if you ever do get into an accident,
a very strange stream, by the way.
Well, I think because of that Dungeon and Discourse.
No, it's because of Dungeon Discourse, and actually we have a lot of experience with this. And
also, I have noticed something, and I don't normally notice this because Derek is usually on the other side of this, where I just hate something, but I like something, and it's kind of remotely popular. And I do know that there is a very strong sentiment within the YouTube community to or the Reddit community or whatever like that, to hate on things that other people like. And so they're like, oh, Critical Role made something, it's just a cash grab. It must be a terrible game. You should be playing Pathfinder 2. There's this people get mad when a popular company or something releases something that is actually maybe good, because it bothers them, because they're like, you shouldn't get to be popular and good. It's you can't be beautiful and funny. That's not fair. I'm very
that happens all the time. But oh, dude, when I went, I don't know if you had this in your school, and where'd you go? Where'd you go? Northwestern or?
Me? I went to Case Western.
Oh, Case Western. It's like when I went to Carnegie Mellon, and back when I went to Carnegie Mellon, there was 3 guys for every girl. So it was 70% male to 30% female. And every so often there would be, really beautiful undergrads who were also like super geniuses, and it was just like it almost was painful. Like it's like, oh, how did they have it all? You know?
Right. Well, and that's the thing. Like, they're like, so let me get this straight. Matt Mercer and his crew are beautiful voice actors.
They're beautiful voice actors who work in Hollywood,
and they sell out arenas watching people play them D&D. And they created a cool game.
And they're rich. Well, sort of rich.
I have to destroy this. Like,
exactly.
This is my personal
mission.
How dare
they?
Like,
I need to find a way to mess them up.
Right. I got to figure out a way to take them down. And I don't know, there's just a thing where people just have this knee jerk reaction where there's like, if something's good, it got to come with a catch.
Got to bring them down a peg.
Got to bring them down.
Got to bring them back or down a peg or two.
And by the way, everyone that I've ever heard of or talked to has said Mercer is incredibly kind and generous. So it's like he does seem to be a genuinely good guy too.
He's good. Yeah. No, but so. It has to be, it's a never sign. It has to be mutual. The indemnification is actually interesting because it's not great. I will say that, but it is kind of standard. Basically, it says like that you're going to hold them, its officers, owners, directors, employees, assigns, agents, affiliates, and representatives harmless from and against any liability claims action. So that's actually interesting. So that's personal liability. That's different. So you can still sue
it's
the
arising
company
from your exercise of the license rights. So for example, if I make a particularly heinous Daggerheart thing and then someone sues me and they name Darrington as a co-defendant, Darrington doesn't have to pay my legal defense. Right. Or I have to pay Darrington's legal defense.
That's what the identification is there, is because if you come up with something truly heinous and then Critical Role gets sued, you have to indemnify them and then pay their legal fees. That is standard. But usually when I sign those, I just make it mutual, saying, okay, we will do that. You do it for me. And most of the times they'll do it. They'll say, yeah, fine. It makes sense. And that's correct. Again, just don't do anything illegal that would probably get them sued.
Here's the problem. The people who are worried aren't the people who feel like they're going to do anything illegal. They are so narcissistic that they think that they're going to come up with some really cool idea and that Darrington is going to, with twirling their mustaches, steal it, print it under their own thing, and say, get fucked. That's what they believe. Now, could they do that? Yes. And that's why they're like, I refuse to use this license. This is why this license is worse than the OGL. Because they honestly believe that sequence of events is going to happen.
Whatever. Well, that's why.
And again, you know what? I'm the big optimistic idiot who thinks that I am but an ant to their. Wait. I'm going to get you a good one. This is why I don't believe that would ever happen.
That's why people don't want to tax billionaires, because they feel, well, when I become a billionaire, I don't want to be taxed, and therefore they should not be taxed. I'm like, dude, you're not going to be a billionaire.
You're absolutely right, because I tell them, I go, no one's going to care about your small release on DriveThruRPG that sells 20 copies. They go, what if it sells 20,000? Okay, what if I make $2 million off of this third-party published thing of Splat? Huh? I think Darrington's going to care then, don't you? And I'm like, do you really believe that's going to happen? Like, is that really where your mind is at? Like, is that how you're thinking?
Also, because if you've already made $2 million off
what do you care?
And then they publish something substantially similar, you've already made $2 million.
I'd be delighted, I'd be like, let me, I don't know. So, but again, this is what people really think. I think, and by the way, the people who are worried about this isn't like Kobold Press, right? It's Bob Jones, right? Who published 3 things on DriveThruRPG that one time, and he's like, they're coming for me.
God, it is pretty funny.
But now I got to go lose at racquetball. So.
You got to lose at racquetball. Right. Do you ever win at racquetball?
I'd say my win rate is below 15% on a game basis. Here's the thing, though. The games are a lot closer than they look. We play to 11, and it is very routine. I mean, it's 11 to 9, 11 to 8, 11. These are close games. The win rate is not as indicative. And you might think, well, obviously my opponent's like 10 years younger than me, so he's much more athletic in that regard. He's lower, he's less weight. He plays golf and he plays basketball. He's more athletic, hands down. But he has what I could describe as an uncanny ability to manipulate small balls with rackets or other objects, whether that's golf or baseball or racquetball. And it's insane what he is able to do. Any lesser man, meaning anybody lesser than me, would have killed him because they would have been so frustrated.
It's like any lesser man would have killed him. I cannot take it anymore.
But I enjoy playing. I don't play to win. You know, I play to be, to compete and to get mad at myself. And
I can't play racquetball because so I had ACL surgery back when I was like 20, and it was fine, and I never had any problems with it ever. And I played racquetball, and I messed up my knee again. So that's it. I'm done. I'm done with, like, I play tennis. I play pickleball, which is probably worse, but pickleball at least it's very
you don't
open
move as much.
And you could also, if worse comes to worse, like I feel like my knee's gonna go. Like you can, like I feel like I have more control, maybe because it's outside and stuff. Also, I don't think the ground is nearly as grippy as racquetball, and you're not slamming the walls like racquetball. It really can get like
racquetball can be a very
it's very violent. It can get very intense.
My goal is to continue to be able to play racquetball at a halfway decent level as long as I can, and at some point I will have to give up on that, and switch to the ball. But anyways, in the meantime. In the meantime, if you want to racket the ball, then you need to roll for.
Wait. So here's the deal. Next week, no Derek. Derek will be at Origins, and so you can go and slap him there
at the combined Shadowdark Roll for Combat booth.
I know.
Right?
So there will be a booth at. I think it's 118. I think is the booth. I'm going to send out a thing for everybody. So a few quick notes. You can buy the Roll for Combat books at the Shadowdark booth. So if I'm going to be anywhere, might as well hang out with Shadowdark because I think that's going to be a busy booth. So you'll be able to get all the books there. Second of all is that we have a surprise, secret, free PDF coming out on Sunday for everybody.
That's true.
I meant to mention that
surprise.
It's a big surprise. Comes out both for Pathfinder and 5e. I think everyone's going to enjoy it. Mark wrote something very fun, so be on the lookout for that on Sunday. The week after that, I will not be here, but I'm sure Derek and Mark can hold down the fort without me.
Oh, I'm sure we can.
I'm sure you can. And then Gen Con Madness. Do you know Gen Con's in 50 days?
Yeah, it's scary.
50
it's
days.
Also exciting, but it's scary.
It's going to be a little scary.
I'm going to go to Origins, and I'm going to be like, oh, this is so nice, and this is so calm, and this is so fun. And then I'm going to be like mentally like, 80,000 unwashed nerds.
Yeah, but we're going to actually, we're going to have a nice little relaxing. We're going to have a pre-Gen Con where we're going to hang out on Tuesday and Wednesday.
The pre-Gen Con sounds lovely.
I know. We're going to have a great pre-Gen Con hanging out.
It's fine. Last year I actually I
did a great Gen Con last year.
I did, I played board games, and I got to hang out with my patrons a couple, and then I interviewed a bunch of.
We had a fantastic Gen Con last year.
I did a bunch of interviews with a bunch of indie developers on the hall floor, and it was a lot of fun. I might do that again this year, actually. Oh, and we got interviewed for that D&D movie.
I know, and I complained because you were featured
featured in the trailer.
In the trailer. So now if you go to the website, the #1 feature is me.
Right. Yeah, they quickly dismissed Smith, but
they put me right at the top.
Agile Monk, I don't know. A lot of the older guys up at the club, they play doubles. I don't know how people play racquetball doubles. I feel like that
doubles is insane.
No, in racquetball, it's